be talking real loud, spreading no light, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Put my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around, that's how it's gonna be. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. Keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's get ready to get black into it. Before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find it at Walmart.com. Okay, so that all been said, let's see who's in here. Okay, Reggie, Alice, Panther Strike, Claudette, Pensilola. All right, Daughter of Zion is here. Okay, so let's get into it. Marie Rose is here. All right, James Allen, Sheila, Goodness Ready to Bow. All right, Christopher Perkins, the Inkwell, Blaxican. Okay, let's get into it. Nessie X. Sandra is here. All right. Shout out to everyone in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen. I see you all. Hell no. Michael M. Gwendolyn. Okay. And shout out to my moderators for putting in work. I see you, Mel, Jeff ATL. Okay. So Reggie said, let's stay on Diddy's neck. Absolutely. So today, Capricorn Clark is going to be testifying. Now, she's Diddy's former assistant. She's also the woman that was in the car outside of Kid Cudi's house while Diddy and someone else broke into the house. Okay, hey Khalid. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm first going to the inner city press for updates, and then we'll go to CNN. All right.
Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here at the Southern District of New York Courthouse. Today, Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. We're going in for week 3 of the U.S. versus Sean Combs trial. We've covered week 1. We've covered week 2. In fact, on both, we put out an ebook, audiobook. You can find them on Google Play. But so just now, we actually wrote a story. We had, on Thursday of week 1, we did a filing to Judge Subramanian saying, why are the various arguments being made by the parties in emails not going into the docket? This is unacceptable. And he agreed. And at least the defense put in their side of it on Memorial Day. And it included emails contesting about Chef Jordan Atkinson, about Don Hughes and Don Richard. Speaking of Don Hughes, there's also a filing by Alexandra Shapiro of the Combs legal team, the 10-lawyer legal team, saying that all of expert Don Hughes' testimony should be excluded because it was nothing but a Rorschach test, and it was impermissible and it was beyond the scope. Now, some people have said, she didn't even talk to Cassie Ventura, but she wasn't supposed to. She's an expert witness. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm expecting that to be addressed in some ways as we get in. There's a few other things. Capricorn Clark will be testifying. Also, an LAPD or LA law enforcement, Jimenez, and the idea is going to be, can he testify about partial female DNA on the Molotov cocktail dropped into Kid Cudi's car. Doesn't seem that they're trying to say that he can't. The defense wants it in. So it's going to be a rip roar, and we're covering it as close as we can and getting as many documents as we can. And so watch this space. There's a few other cases actually happening here today, believe it or not. One is the congestion.
Okay, so now with that all being said, shout out to Matthew for keeping us informed and up to date. Now, here's the thing. He's saying that they want Dawn Richard's testimony stricken from the record, like taken out. Yeah, they do. They also supposedly want Kid Cudi's out. Now, those two things are what I was telling you. Both of their testimonies are prior bad acts, which is like I keep telling you how Harvey Weinstein got his conviction overturned. So those are very problematic for the defense. Okay, and they're hoping that they can use that when they file for Diddy's appeal. Well, they're absolutely going to use it. Now, but here's the thing. Also, Diddy's team filed like a 19-page report to the judge. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. I'm not going to go through this, quite frankly, because I don't feel like it. Okay, I don't feel so good this morning, guys. Bear with me. But so anyway, so they filed this document. It was filed on yesterday. In the first week of the U.S. versus Sean Combs trial, there was talk in court about filings that were not included, even in sealed or redacted form in the public docket. Okay, so that is what that's what this filing was all about. Now, also, they made mention in here of some things that they were disagreeing with. Okay, hold on. It's a lot. Hold on. Okay, so dear Chambers and Judge Subramanian, after conferring with the government over the past week over 106 objections, they have informed us that they disagree with the defense's rule of completeness objections as to 7 exhibits. To facilitate the court's ruling on these, we have included the government's proposed exhibits and the defense's proposed exhibits that would satisfy our 106 objections. Now, that was from Tina Garagos. Then they say, in the courtroom, I had asked AUSA Johnson if she could narrow the exhibits that would pertain to this issue to just the exhibits that we had been conferring on with the government. Those are probably 2 to 3 exhibits maximum. Okay, we would note for the court that what we've already noted for the government, which is that as defense lawyers, we have to overmark exhibits because there is no other way to have exhibits ready to refresh recollection or possibly introduce depending on what the witness's answer is. Okay, so it sounds like the argument or the dispute rather was over the amount of exhibits. Then they say the government has just received the defense exhibits in hard copy and has not yet received electronic copies. The hard copy exhibits consist of 383 exhibits, totaling hundreds of pages, double-sided, filling 3 multi-inch binders. It is simply not possible for the government to review and identify objections to all of these exhibits by the end of the night, not to mention 7 p.m. Federal Rule of Evidence 412C1 places the burden on the proponent of an exhibit covered by the rule to file a motion that specifically describes the evidence and states the purpose for which it is to be offered. Given the volume of exhibits, we ask that the defense be directed to compile a narrower list of exhibits that implicate the issues of the government flagged, issues that the government flagged on the record today. So like I said, I'm not getting into all of that. It's a whole bunch of rigmarole as far as I'm concerned. They're going back and forth about exhibits. There's too many of them. We don't have time to review it, go through it so that we can complain about it and say we don't want this one used and all this, that, and the third. Okay, so, and you know, quite frankly, Diddy's team is trying to throw everything at the wall to see what sticks because they know that it's not looking good for Diddy. Okay, they know that it's not looking good for Diddy. And for people who say, oh, but they're not proving the RICO. Well, they've already been proving the RICO. Now, I know some beg to differ, but at the end of the day, that's why all these people are testifying. Kid Cudi going up there testifying, that is basically showing intimidation, threats, okay? And then coercion because Capricorn Clark was in the car when Diddy and his so-called friend went into Kid Cudi's house, okay, without consent. She was forced to be there. She says they made her get into the car. She was crying. This is the charge of kidnapping. Okay, so everything that they're saying, let's not forget, they also told you that both of the former assistants, Kaplan, I think his name was George Kaplan, and then the other one, David James, they both testified to how Diddy was having them to purchase personal items for Freakoffs or whatever things they were doing at the hotel with the Astroglide and baby oil and all that. They didn't know it was Freakoffs at the time, I don't think, but they were purchasing these things with their own money to be reimbursed by Diddy from money from the corporation, okay? Not from Diddy's personal bank account. And then also going on vacations, they said, acting as though it was business, but then spending personal time there. This is all called commingling of funds, okay? So yes, they absolutely are proving their point, okay? And Diddy's team is worried nonetheless. Now let's get into some more updates because likes up, everyone, please like and share. Okay, so 32 minutes ago, the judge took the bench. Prosecutors and defense attorneys were discussing some issues before the jury entered. What they were discussing is what I just told you about because they just filed it yesterday. Okay, so Los Angeles fire investigator to testify today about the fire set to Kid Cudi's car. Okay. The investigator is expected to say that he concluded that the fire was deliberately set and caused by a Molotov cocktail dropped inside the Porsche. Over an objection from prosecutors, Judge Arvin Subramanian said that the defense can ask the investigator about his report that says partial female DNA was recovered from the glass bottle used to create the explosive. Okay, now 13 minutes ago, as jurors head into a third week of testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs federal criminal case, prosecutors are still working to prove Combs was involved in a criminal enterprise engaged in arson, kidnapping, and other illegal acts. But have they done enough? Okay, well, according to CNN legal analyst, criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson says they haven't done enough yet. Prosecutors are attempting to lay the foundation for the racketeering conspiracy charges against Combs that he faces through witnesses who spoke about Combs' alleged involvement with arson and extortion. Rapper Kid Cudi, who dated Combs' ex-girlfriend and the key witness in trial, Cassie Ventura, testified and accused Combs of setting his Porsche on fire with a Molotov cocktail while he was dating Ventura. You know, I don't really think they might be able to make that stick because Diddy was never charged with it. They never proved that he did it. I mean, it's if we're just going by the circumstances surrounding it and the testimony, well, I'm pretty sure Diddy did it. But, again, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. So will the jurors believe without a shadow of a doubt, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Diddy, in fact, is the person responsible for the car blowing up? Okay, that just depends. Now, then Ventura's mother testified about a home equity loan for $20,000 to pay Diddy. And then he was asked to recoup money that he'd spent on her daughter. Okay, because he was angry about her and Kid Cudi being in a relationship. Not to mention that Kid Cudi and Cassie both said they were threatened by Diddy and feared for their safety. Now, in order to further prove the racketeering charge, prosecutors need to establish continuous use of the enterprise over a significant period of time, not just these one-off activities, and sexual exploitation and trafficking would lead to that. Prosecutors have to show more coercion and forced activity, according to Jackson. So basically, he's saying, yeah, this stuff has something to do with racketeering, but they have to show that this was something continuous, that Diddy had a pattern of doing these things, that this is not just one stop. Not just one stop fits all. No, they have to prove that he was continuing to do these things over time, which I don't think they'll have a hard problem doing that because Diddy's been in Ferris for like at least 30 years. Okay. Capricorn Clark, the former director of marketing for Sean Diddy Combs, said that she has been involved in the music industry since shortly after graduating from high school. Okay. When she landed an internship with Def Jam Records, she said both of her parents died shortly after that, which meant that she had to start life a lot earlier. After Def Jam, she worked for Death Row Records with Suge Knight, which Suge Knight then managed. Around 2004, she started working for Combs at Bad Boy Entertainment. I never knew she worked for Suge Knight. I wonder if that had anything to do with Diddy not being so nice to her. Okay, so that's all we have for now. Okay, that is all we have for now. Now let's go back to Inner City Press and see what he's posted. Okay, so 11 minutes ago, AUSA says, what was your relation to Suge Knight? Capricorn says, he is the father of my friend's child. AUSA says, then you worked for Sean Combs. Capricorn says, yes, he's over there in a blue sweater. I worked for him from 2004 to 2012. AUSA says, were you kidnapped? She says, yes. See, I told you all that's the kidnapping charge right there when they made her get into that car and then drove her to Kid Cudi's house. AUSA says, when did you first meet Mr. Combs? Capricorn Clark says, when I moved to New York City in 2002. We were super platonic friends. A headhunter said I should work for him as a personal assistant. I did until 2006. AUSA says, your duties? She says, shadow him from Wake Up. Okay. All right, so waiting for more updates. Oh, so interesting. Deja Vu said, who did Diddy piss off 30 years? Is these celebrities. Diddy has done a lot, allegedly. Okay, so I'm going to go to a couple of reports while we wait for further updates. Everyone, please like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. First of all, let's talk about Kanye West, because I forgot to tell you all. Kanye West went in on Kid Cudi for daring to speak against Diddy. Kanye West blasted Kid Cudi for testifying against Diddy in the S trafficking trial. West has made a number of past statements in support of the Bad Boy Records boss and now called out his former protege for giving evidence in court. On X, West wrote, I wish Cudi hadn't testified against Puff. We need to not be locked in white systems. Praying for Puff and his family. Kanye West, sit your ass down somewhere, okay? Please sit down somewhere. At the end of the day, Diddy is getting everything that he put out, and then some. Now, Cudi, who has not been on good terms with West for a while, is yet to respond to his Erase Me collaborators' comments. West is not the only hip-hop star to call Kid Cudi out for appearing in court. Young Thug dissed Kid Cudi as a rat for testifying on the stand after being subpoenaed by the court. He said, damn Cudi a rat, LOL. Young Thug's attorney from this RICO case, Brian Steele, is also part of Diddy's extensive legal team. Subpoenaed to testify about his brief relationship with Cassie in 2011, Cudi claimed that Diddy once broke into his Los Angeles home. Cudi testified that after Diddy found out about his relationship with Cassie, a friend phoned him to report that the Bad Boy Records founder had broken into his home. On his way back home, Cudi said that he phoned Diddy with the record executive telling him, I'm over here waiting for you. I wish I would call somebody and they tell me they're in my house waiting for me and you're an enemy, no less. Okay, that's crazy work. Cudi testified that he arrived at his home to find his security cameras were not working and that intruders had gone through his belongings, including opening Christmas presents intended for his family. Cudi further said that his dog had been injured in the incident and locked in the bathroom. The Pursuit of Happiness rapper added that after the incident, his dog had become jittery and on edge. Cudi described his feelings towards Diddy after the break-in, saying, I wanted to confront him. I wanted to fight him. The rapper and occasional actor also said that he filed a police report over the incident. Cudi also accused Diddy of blowing up his Porsche, something the rapper and producer denied to him in a private conversation. All right, so let's go to this report from CBS. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Here we go.
Back to New York City, jurors, as we said earlier, they are returning to the courtroom tomorrow to hear more witnesses in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. And joining us now, one more time, CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. Jessica, I'm glad you can hear us and we can hear you this time around. That's great news. We know jurors, they've been sitting with the testimony since court adjourned on Thursday. So what has stood out to you the most about week 2 of the trial?
Oh my gosh, how long do we have? I mean, truly explosive testimony about these freak-offs, about drug use, about taking ecstasy pills that were meant to look like mini versions of President Obama. I mean, to pick out a few things, I think Kid Cudi obviously testifying that he dated Cassie Ventura for a short period of time and that Sean Combs allegedly acted against him in violent ways as a result of basically dating his ex-girlfriend. I think Cassie Ventura's mother testifying about the abuse that she was corroborating that Cassie Ventura endured. I think the assistants testifying about these freak-offs and what they included. I mean, for the prosecution, of course, it's not just going to be saying, this is sensational. It's tying these explosive and sensational tidbits to the crimes here. And I think that's also what they're doing effectively, which is saying not only were these parties not like the parties many of us have attended, but it's also about the coercion, the lack of, the alleged lack of voluntary actions by many of the people, including Cassie Ventura, who were caught up in this alleged criminal enterprise.
Yeah, and Jessica, we know prosecutors have also released more photos they say were taken inside of Diddy's Miami home during a raid. And a Homeland Security agent who participated in that raid also testified. So what did jurors hear on that one?
Jurors heard and saw pictures of firearms, pictures involving intimate activities and sexual activities, and the paraphernalia that goes along with that. And frankly, that's key to the prosecution's case, because the proximity of, let's say, lubricants and other items that you might use during intimate activities and guns and firearms, showing that those two things were tied, I think is key to showing that many of the sexual acts, according to the prosecution, were not consensual. So again, this isn't about kind of a made-for-TV moment. This is
Okay, let's get into the updates from Inner City Press 3 minutes ago. AUSA says, and did he talk about it? Capricorn Clark says, he, Mr. Combs, told Chris Lighty he had a gun. He had a problem with 50 Cent. Oh, no, he did not. Do y'all hear this? Said he had a problem with 50 Cent, then talking about guns. Diddy, you better sit down somewhere. AUSA says, were you ever accused of stealing? She says, yes, jewelry. It had been given to me. It was on loan. AUSA says it went missing. She says, yes. AUSA says, what did you do? Capricorn Clark says, from Teterboro, I called 1440 and told them to lock it down. AUSA says, what did Uncle Paulie do? She says, he questioned me 3 hours. AUSA says, you went home? She says, to Queens. Yes, with Uncle Paulie. He searched my house. Honey, this is all too much. Do y'all hear this? Diddy accusing somebody of stealing, and then he's going to get his security to follow you home, take you home, and search your house? Honey, you better go get a search warrant, okay? That's what I told Diddy. Honey, come back with the warrants, okay? Come back when you have a warrant, honey. You can sit down somewhere. All right. Anyway, now this is from CNN. On her first day working for Sean Diddy Combs in 2004, Capricorn Clark said he took her to Central Park with his security guard sometime after 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There, he brought her up for former employment with Death Row, okay, which was founded by Combs' rival, Marion Suge Knight. He says, he told me that he didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to kill me. Say, what? Do y'all hear this? If anything happened, he'd have to kill her. The security guard stood by silently while Combs threatened her. She said she told Combs at the time, we'll just have to see. She testified that she felt she couldn't convince him that she was trustworthy at the time, and said she could have been more transparent about her employment background. When Capricorn Clark saw Sean Diddy Combs was Sean Diddy Combs' personal assistant, she heard him discuss guns once, she says. Clark says that Combs and his then manager got into an elevator after Combs did an MTV event with rapper 50 Cent. And Combs told him that he had an issue with 50 Cent. And after further conversation, Combs said, I don't do that. I like guns. That's what he said. Combs' demeanor was very serious. So he thought he was about to pull a gun on 50 Cent. Let me tell you something, honey. All right, you better sit all the way down. Okay, y'all know I don't play by 50 Cent. Has he lost his mind? Reggie said, OMG, Diddy making threats. Gotta watch what you say. Okay. Dennis Rader said, P. Diddy stealing people's privacy, accuse people of stealing. The nerve. Okay. Joy said sick and depraved behavior. It sure is, honey, especially when he brings 50 Cent into it and then talking about some guns. Honey, let me go up in there and slap Diddy real quick. Hold on. Let's oh, that's laughing. Let's get back into it. I absolutely cannot with Diddy.
It's about showing that there were guns next to, for instance, condoms. Why would that be the case? It's about building the case that people were coerced into sexual activities.
Yeah. So what are we expecting to see in court tomorrow? Who's set to testify?
So we're expecting to hear more from people who are part of Sean Combs's businesses, or the prosecution would say part of his criminal enterprise. We're expected to hear more from his assistants, people who helped plan these freak-offs, people who can testify to what's key for the prosecution, whether or not items and people cross state lines. Again, we need that federal hook for federal crimes. And more about the organization of these parties. And again, whether or not, because this is going to be key for the defense, whether or not these activities were consensual or if they were instead coerced. And I think we're going to, again, hear more about how Sean Combs and his associates organize not just the parties, but everything that leads up to the parties.
Yeah. Jessica Levinson, thank you so much for your insight and for joining us.
If you have pink salt and
All right. Now let's go to this report from CNN as we continue to wait for more updates on Diddy's nefarious self. Sitting up here talking about he likes guns. I like his nerve. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all know why Diddy likes guns. He likes guns when it comes to fighting men. Okay, that's what he likes. He'll put his hands on women. Okay, that's what he'll do. But then when it comes to men, he either has to bring somebody with him, pick up a weapon, okay, or have his gun. That's what he does. Remember, didn't he hit Steve Stout with a champagne bottle? Okay, I'm sorry. Diddy needs to sit down somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to go to this report from CNN where they're talking about the third week of Diddy's trial and what we all should expect. Well, I'll tell you what I expect. I expect for Diddy to be found guilty as charged.
Another big week in the Sean Combs sex trafficking trial. Testimony set to resume tomorrow, with another one of Combs' former assistants taking the stand. Last week concluded with rapper Kid Cudi, who testified about his brief relationship with Cassie Ventura. Kid Cudi said he was concerned for her safety.
Hold on. Judge Wood said, sorry, but I'm calling cap on her over the top. So you don't believe Capricorn. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll see, beloved. Thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. And then Andrew said, Queen, where exactly are you going to slap Diddy? In his mouth. Okay, like his mama should have done a whole long time ago. Please pay attention. In his mouth.
As well as his own. He described the time when he says a jealous Combs broke into his home, locked his dog in a bathroom, and opened his Christmas gifts. The jury also saw photos of Kid Cudi's charred Porsche. Cudi testified he knew Combs had something to do with that damage. Joining me now, defense and trial attorney Misty Maris and former U.S. prosecutor Sarah Krisoff. Sarah and Misty, thank you so much for being here on Memorial Day, no doubt, when you could be doing a lot of other things. I'm going to start with you, Sarah. When we saw this testimony from Kid Cudi, how impactful and important was it for the words that came out of his mouth in the stand, but also they've had the whole weekend to sit with it?
Yeah, so the prosecution is trying to build the racketeering case, particularly through Kid Cudi, and hopefully from their viewpoint with witnesses to come. So I think that's been the area where there's been the least amount of testimony so far, but they're going to build that block by block and trying to, convince the jury there was some sort of enterprise and all of these people that were around Combs trying to cover up the crimes that were committed in furtherance of that enterprise.
Misty, as far as how the defense is handling some of this explosive testimony from Kid Cudi, who was very strong on the stand, according to our reporters who are in there watching this every single day, how is the defense handling itself so far?
Well, first of all, explosive is the perfect word because the main point of that testimony from the prosecution's perspective was the Molotov cocktail that Kid Cudi says it was Combs and his affiliates, his associates, who blew up his car. And that is part of the predicate crimes prosecutors are seeking to establish of arson, which goes towards racketeering. But Sarah, I was actually in the courtroom for Kid Cudi's testimony.
Okay, now listen, beloved, I want you all to pay attention to what she said. She said they're trying to use these to establish the predicate crimes. Now, for those of you who remember, when I explained to you exactly what a RICO is and what type of charges they're looking for, I told you about the predicate crimes. Out of all of the crimes that fall under the RICO, you have to have committed at least 2 predicate crimes within a span of 10 years. Okay, so they only need 2. All right, but let's continue.
So I saw it. He was a great witness, but the defense was able to chip away at his testimony on cross and establish that he had no direct information. He didn't see anybody. There were no cameras. There was never an arrest. Basically throwing a little bit of doubt as to whether or not he could really say it was Combs or someone associated with Combs who actually did that damage to his car. So the defense did a good job. He also said that Cassie played him. This was his testimony, and that she was living a double life by dating both himself and Combs. Now, that speaks to her autonomy in the situation, that element of control. So the defense did an excellent job on cross-examination of getting that out in front of the jury.
Yeah, one of those moments that Kid Cudi had was saying that he saw Combs standing outside after that car was burned, looking like a supervillain, staying there with his hands behind his back. But I am curious about some of this coming in. There was no police report, there was no investigation, there was no arrest of Sean Diddy Combs at the time. Were you surprised that came in, that the judge allowed that testimony and those pictures?
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's more to come on this, because it was a lot of supposition on behalf of Kid Cudi saying, this must have been him because we had this warning and then the thing happened. So it was, and that is always, frankly, a danger in a racketeering case. They have this huge swath of time that they're covering. There's lots of events. There's a real question of is all of this stuff properly before the jury?
Yeah, and that is something that obviously, if there's a conviction, that can come back up on appeal. Misty, I'm curious going forward this week, what you're expecting to hear, because so far, almost every single day of this trial has been jaw-dropping testimony.
Absolutely. So tomorrow, after this long weekend, we'll be back in session in court, and Capricorn Clark is set to take the stand now. She's come up in several different witness testimonies. She's been referenced. She's a longtime assistant and eventually became an executive at Bad Boy Records. So many of the witnesses that we've heard from so far that were affiliated or working for Combs were little snapshots of time. 2 years here, 2 years there.
If you've been trying to lose weight and have one of these insurance plans, you could work with a nutritionist for free.
Capricorn Clark worked with him for a longer period of time. She also was referencing Kid Cudi's testimony that she had reached out to Kid Cudi and said, hey, Combs and some of his affiliates are at your house, are breaking into your house. So she's certainly going to be a very important witness. And my expectation for pre-trial is that she's going to testify about the means and methods of the criminal racketeering conspiracy that prosecutors are seeking to establish.
Yeah, and we're expecting, 6 weeks of the prosecution putting on its case and the defense doing its thing afterwards. I do want to ask you, Sarah, about some reporting that has come out from people. They talked to folks in the jail, and they said that Combs will have a chance to take part in a spades card game, dominoes, 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and a soccer tournament that were offered to prisoners for the holiday, as well as to have some barbecue. He is innocent until proven guilty, but is this the norm when you're in jail during a trial?
Listen, there is nothing that is good about being in the Metropolitan Detention Center. It's a pretty tough facility. And these types of pretrial facilities have a lot less access, outdoor time, educational programming that you would have at a post-trial facility. So listen, I think these are human comforts that
Yeah.
he's being provided, but nothing out
of the norm. And this was provided for all, I think, of the inmates there. Thank you so much, Sarah, to you, and thank you to you, Misty. We will be back asking you more questions as this trial continues tomorrow.
Joining me now to discuss is CNN lead.
Okay, so next update from 1 minute ago, this is CNN saying that one time Sean Diddy Combs accused Capricorn Clark of stealing diamond jewelry that was on loan to him from a jeweler. Clark had been assigned to hold the jewelry as they traveled from New York to Miami. She realized the bag holding the jewelry was missing before they got to the airport. Combs went on to Miami, leaving Clark with a security guard who questioned her for hours and then searched her apartment. Like he's the police, okay? The next day, the security guard picked her up from her home and left her in a locked, vacant office space with another man who administered a lie detector test on her. Clark testified that the man told her at the time that if she failed the test, they're going to throw you in the East River. She described him as she described him as being very wide, but never learned his name. Said what? Say if you fail, they're going to throw you in the East River. Yeah, that all sounds real crazy. Sounds real crazy, you guys. But let's continue.
Legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson. Joey, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Of course, howdy.
So since we have this pause on the proceedings, it's a good time to talk about the testimony that we've heard so far. For my money, rapper Kid Cudi was very much a remarkable witness. Can you talk about who stood out to you and why?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, obviously, Kid Cudi, let's start there, was important because what he brings is, remember the charges, Addie. We're talking about a racketeering conspiracy, and what the government is alleging that this conspiracy existed over the course of 20 years. And in conspiracies of racketeering, what do you have? You have guns, drugs, money. But in addition to that, let's talk about what Cudi brought to the table. He talked about the issue of arson. He talked about the firebombing of his Porsche. That gets you to that. In addition to that, he talked about the burglary of his home, the removal of surveillance cameras. So that's certainly significant as it relates to what this alleged criminal enterprise was doing. However, he also gave something to the defense, and that was his relationship with Cassie Ventura. Who was she? She's the star witness of the government who had a long-term relationship with Sean Combs, and that relationship had a lot of violence, a lot of destructive behavior on the part of Combs, and that's what we saw the videotape that was played over and over for the jury. So there's no question that he was a central witness, but of course he said also that he dated her, that is Cassie Ventura, and he felt somewhat played because he didn't know that she was still with Combs. And so the defense will seize upon that to say, hey, she manipulated Cudi and she's manipulating you. In addition to him, though, we heard from a psychologist, and the psychologist was important because she spoke about how women behave when they have these real relationships that are predicated upon physical force and violence, etc., to go to show some of the conduct. Because remember, Audi, what we have here is not any testimony concerning him beating her and her saying, no, I'm not going to engage in these freak-off wild parties where there was this rampant, activity going on.
Let me stop for a second. James said, I would have told Diddy and his goons to kiss my ass. I don't know anything about a bag of jewelry, and you blaming me? I know that's right, honey. He must be crazy, making people take lie detector tests. Okay, Reggie said, Cudi was like, what about my car? And Diddy was like, what car? Just the ferry. Okay. Oh, hell no, said Cassie likes her men medium ugly. Medium ugly. Reggie said she couldn't just leave. She was locked in from wake up to sleep, or FO.
And we have the reverse. We have certainly text messages and emails saying she can't wait to do it. So the psychologist was explaining why a woman who is controlled by a person would engage in that behavior. And of course, we heard from Cassie's mother as well with respect to something else you have in conspiracies and racketeering, right? Which is extortion, wherein he, that is Combs, reached out to her and said, give me $20,000. she owes it to me. That is your daughter, and I want it, and the mother sent it. And so I think with Cassie and her mom and the psychologist, those were certainly compelling witnesses, and there were a variety of others as well.
Joey, it's sort of odd to understand this, but we're in the Me Too era or post-Me Too era, and so much of this conversation is around Cassie Ventura's motivations. It's kind of the equivalent of like, not she deserved it, but did she want it? Did she participate in it? Is that surprising in what is essentially a RICO trial?
So what happens is that it is RICO, and RICO is usually used, right, in terms of getting mobsters and others who run criminal syndicates and bringing them to justice. Here you have it used against Sean Combs. But in addition to that, Audi, what you have is you have sex trafficking allegations. Now, in order for the government to get to the issue of sex trafficking, of course, it makes it federal because it's across state lines. Was this occurring in New York? Was it occurring in Florida, California, internationally, in fact? So they have to show that to make it federal. But you also have to show force or coercion. And so the reason that you have this battle, you have this psychologist, you have, this whole issue of whether it was forced or whether it was not, is because in order to get to trafficking, you have to show the element of coercion. And so that's the battleground here. If the defense shows that it was consensual and a freaky lifestyle, it's one thing, it's not guilty. If it's shown by the government that it was forced, it was coercive, and it was because of this abusive and controlling relationship, it gets you to another place. And that's why even in the Me Too generation and movement, we're hearing a lot about intentions, a lot about her intentions, a lot about the money she collected from him in a $20 million settlement, a money that she got from the hotel with respect to this incident. And that's the real critical issue, is whether the government can show this coercive behavior that led to her not consenting at all. That's the question the jury will have to decide.
Many more witnesses this week. Joey Jackson, CNN legal analyst, thank you.
Why are women everywhere choosing Abby X, the new tummy tuck alternative? I got the tummy tuck.
All right. Okay, so still waiting for more updates, beloveds. Hold on, let me see here. Yep. Okay, so now I'm going to play this audio from Court TV. They actually have somebody reading the transcripts from the trial as if they're the people that are testifying. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to put up an overlay because I don't have permission to use this.
Up. He wanted his friends to be there to see it.
While you were employed by Mr. Combs, did you ever observe him using drugs?
Yes.
What kinds of drugs?
Weed, ketamine, cocaine, Molly, E.
How frequently did Mr. Combs do drugs, in your observation?
I would say every day.
Did he do drugs during the day?
He would take Percocets throughout the day.
Testimony has been explosive in Diddy's federal trial. Evidence presented against the music mogul, including drugs shaped like the face of a former president, are what's trending in true crime. Jurors seeing photos of what was collected during that federal raid of Diddy's Miami home. In these pictures, you can see drugs, guns, lots of baby oil. We know he liked that. Sex toys and high heels. And this is just to name a few of the things. These things were gathered from Diddy's Star Island residence back in March of last year. And more photos of Cassie Ventura with friends were also seen by the jury. There's one particular, look at this one, with rapper French Montana. Look at her hair. Prosecutors say that her hair was purposely styled that way to cover a facial injury that had happened to her eye. That was something that came up with Cassie when she testified. And we've seen those terrible pictures of her eye being split open, or the brow area of her eye, I should say. She said because of Diddy beating her. We've seen the beating video too. So this morning, when we think about all the exhibits that are in so far, there are more to come. What's the most shocking piece of evidence so far that we've seen come in against Diddy, or the thing we've heard doesn't have to be necessarily a photograph, but what stuns you the most? Hit us up on social media. Let us know. Right now, let's bring in our power panel. We want to ask them. Still with me, former United States Attorney William Ehlenfeld, and want to welcome in the former co-host of the Hot 97 Morning Show, Lisa G. All right, Lisa, start us off, please. The most stunning thing to you that you've seen or heard in this case?
That's a great question, Julie, because everything has been shocking to me. I've known P. Diddy, Sean Combs for decades, I guess 30 years now. And when I see all this evidence, I go, how did he have time to have this second life? He was running a huge business. And so every little bit of detail has been shocking to me. It's getting to the point where I'm going online and looking at pictures and going like, oh my God, what am I going to see today?
Well, okay, a couple of more updates from CNN. Okay, so this is from a minute ago. Okay, Capricorn Clark, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs, said that after he accused her of stealing diamond jewelry from him, she was given a lie detector test. She said, "I was petrified." At one point, the man administering the test told her that she needed to calm down because the results were inconclusive. I'm not getting a good reading. You're going to be in the East River if I can't get a reading on this. This is what he said. I couldn't calm down, she says. And then how do you calm down after he just told you you're going to be in the East River, okay? Eventually, one of Combs' security guards took her home, and I picked her up the next day. Took her home and picked her up the next day to repeat the same process. Clark testified that she was taken to the same vacant office building for questioning with a lie detector for 5 days straight. She said that she didn't want to do it, but thought the lie detector was the only way to prove her innocence. Clark said that she didn't report the incident to the police because she worked under a non-disclosure agreement. Clearly, she didn't know that doesn't mean you can't speak about crimes that somebody's committed. Okay, NDAs do not protect people from stop people from reporting crimes. Okay, so she said she had signed an NDA. And so anyway, Judge Aaron Subramaniam sustained a defense objection to the testimony about the NDA and told the jury to disregard it. Now, after the 5 days for test, Combs' security guard told Clark that she could return to work. Clark testified that Combs never asked her where she was during those 5 days, and he never mentioned the lie detector test to her. She said that she didn't know if the jewelry was ever found. So from a minute ago, Capricorn Clark, the former director of marketing for Sean Diddy Combs, typically worked from 9 a.m. until 4 a.m. as Combs' personal assistant without breaks or meals. What? Now, hold on. Do you all hear this? This sounds real crazy. Said she worked from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. typically. That means on a regular basis as Combs' personal assistant without breaks or meals. I don't know about that. That sounds crazy. Now, Combs told her that if she failed to complete any task, she would lose her job. She said that on a good night, she got 4 hours of sleep and developed stress-induced alopecia. Clark made $65,000 annually at the time. Diddy is crazy as I don't know what. How are you going to work somebody from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m.? Okay, make it all make sense. Almost 24 hours straight. Anyway, let's continue.
Everything from, the baby oil to the burned sports car to the black eye, fat lips. Every little detail has been shocking to me. And so I keep thinking, wow, what are the jurors thinking? They're regular people. They're not attorneys. And so I'm just wondering if all the different layers are adding up in their minds for them to say, wow, he's guilty.
Excellent points, Lisa. Yeah, I'm with you. There's so much to think about here. It's hard. It really is. William, you've been in practice for so many years. You've seen so much. I hope you write a book someday. You should. What is the thing that maybe shocks you the most, if there is anything?
So, like Lisa G said, the pictures of the Porsche automobile, to me, is something that people don't typically see. The average person might see baby oil, might see a gun, they might see prescription pill bottles, but to see evidence that a Molotov cocktail was thrown through the roof of a Porsche automobile is something that most of us don't ever see. And then I would also say collectively, all of this evidence is very powerful for the government. So I'm not shocked that SDNY has all this lined up and ready to go, but the guns are helpful because it shows that he used force and intimidation to keep people like Cassie Ventura in line. The drugs are consistent with the racketeering count and all the drug use and distribution. Just the overall, the Freakoff supplies, all of those pictures corroborate what Cassie and others have said. So it's very powerful. And I think having the guns in the courtroom is also very helpful to the government. Not everyone on that jury owns a gun. And so to be able to see that live and in person in the courtroom is also going to be very helpful for the government's case.
All right, well, we shall see. Now, this is from 1 minute ago from CNN. Capricorn Clark testifies about her early employment under Sean Diddy Combs when she was his personal assistant. At one point, a human resource representative from Bad Boy presented Combs with a sheet that calculated that Clark was owed for what she was owed for overtime. Now, $80,000 for a 3-month period. She was owed $80,000 for overtime in a 3-month period. She says that Diddy ripped up the paper. She was never compensated for the overtime. No, he didn't. Ripped up the paper, honey. Do y'all hear this? Okay, no, there's no way I would have been working for him. Now, when Sean Diddy Combs traveled, his rooms were usually reserved under the names Frank Black or Frank White, according to Capricorn Clark. Now, we've heard this all before. The other assistants testified to the same thing, and so did Cassie. She says, I would unpack all of his clothes and shoes and personal belongings and put them in their place. Combs traveled with a toiletry bag containing rugs with a D and a camera box, which had 4 cameras along with a small bottle of baby oil and a small bottle of lube. What a freak. He had to take this stuff everywhere he went. Clark said that she would also bring candles to provide lighting in the rooms. After Combs' stay, Clark said she would sweep the room for everything or anything left behind. She said she sometimes saw damage to the rooms, including handprints left in oil. Honey, this all sounds like, just sounds gross, okay? This all just sounds nasty as hell, honey. There's no way I would have been in there cleaning up those bodily fluids and all that, honey, unless I had a whole hazmat suit to wear, and Diddy would have had to been paying me $50,000 a pop, because I'm sorry, who's doing it? Okay, this is all crazy. But let's continue.
Oh, that's a really great point. William, a follow-up on that, please. When you're prosecuting cases, or defending them, and let's say you want to show jurors a firearm for whatever reason, what considerations do you have to make sure you work through when you think about your presentation, how close you're going to get, things like that, so as not to put off any members of the jury who might be by just the sight of the firearm?
You have to be careful. And so the government used an agent yesterday to testify about the gun and to actually have it and hold it. And they have to do it in such a way that obviously it's not pointing at the jury. And I'm sure it had some sort of a locking mechanism on it to make it clear to the jury that no one was going to be harmed by these. But just actually having it in the courtroom and not just having photographs is a much more powerful way to present the evidence. And so I'm not surprised that the government did it that way. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick on the drug distribution piece, the pill bottles, I think, are also interesting because some of those were prescribed and some of those were illicit drugs. And if I were a doctor who was prescribing to Sean Combs, I'd be a little bit nervous that the government might be coming after me next because I'm not sure that prescribing was proper. But all of it is very interesting to me. It's going to be very helpful to the government. And I think they scored a lot of points by showing those pictures and bringing that evidence into the courtroom.
I got air scope done on my full abdomen, my waist, my flanks, and the fat transferred to my hip dips.
Yeah, most definitely, William. Excellent points. Lisa G, let me go back to you, please. Being someone who's known Diddy for many, many years, he'd come on your show so many times. When he would be on air versus when he would be off air, was there any difference? I'm so curious, as you've worked with so many different personalities and artists, and it's always neat to hear who's really that guy or that woman. What would you say was the case with Diddy?
The same. He would come into the room and it would be like a tornado was following him. He had all this, what I called a negative energy cycle around him like this. And so that has not changed. And I've seen him throughout the years where, yeah, maybe he's a little calmer and very friendly. He's very personable, always taking pictures. So when I'm hearing all this evidence, I'm just in shock that he even had the time to do all this. And also, I felt one of the most compelling, I guess, days of testimony was with her mother on the stand, where he allegedly tried to blackmail her about the sex tapes, releasing the sex tapes. So when I heard that, I thought, oh, wow, he's done. This is a bad one against him.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm with you. Lisa, thank you so much for reminding us of that. I think that, for me, if I had to weigh in, would be the most shocking thing. Messing with Cassie's mom and dad, and these people, who have nothing to do with her relationship with Diddy. And for anybody who missed it, basically the testimony from Regina Ventura was that Diddy goes to her, says, you owe me $20,000 because of the money I spent on your daughter. Pay up or else I'll release these sex tapes of your child.
Yeah, Diddy is low down and nefarious. Okay, here's another update. 2 minutes ago, CNN. The testimony of Capricorn Clark, a former employee of Sean Diddy Combs, should help corroborate both Kid Cudi and Cassie Ventura's testimonies. But the prosecution still has a lot to prove in other areas of the case, according to CNN legal analyst and former prosecutor Jennifer Rogers. She says, it seems to me that prosecutors have decided to start with this bucket, Cassie Ventura, her testimony, and then all of the testimony that corroborates her. But I think the jury is thinking about this conspiracy. You need two people to criminally conspire for this racketeering conspiracy to work. Rogers added that she thinks prosecutors need to answer more questions for the jury related to the racketeering conspiracy charge, saying that those other questions include laying out whether or where are the other co-conspirators or conspirators, not only who did things for him like an employee would, but who had a meeting of the minds, a criminal meeting of the minds, that they were all together in this enterprise. Because yes, this all makes perfect sense, because here's the thing. These people are testifying that they, worked for Diddy and they were doing things that were not legal. Like the one that said he had to go pick up the rugs with a D for Diddy, and he went and got an 8-ball and took it to Nelly and all this stuff that they're saying. But she's basically saying that they need to show and prove, the prosecution that is, that these people had it in their mind that they were thinking and knew that they belong and agreed to that they belong to a criminal enterprise. I'm willing to bet money none of them ever thought such. Okay, that's what I'm willing to bet. All right. So anyway, but under RICO, as long as you're affiliated with it, employed by it or associated, they can say you were a conspirator. Okay, please pay attention. But let's continue.
And she and her husband took out a home equity loan to pay it. And then after it was wire transferred through Diddy's bookkeeper, she said it was returned days later. William, I want you to make the final point for us in terms of what, if any, predicate crimes for the racketeering conspiracy might we have there?
Your question is as to what predicate crimes still need to be proven?
Does Cassie's mom's testimony help establish blackmail or extortion or things that would help support count one?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big piece of the racketeering count, is the bribery, the force, the intimidation, and that is a key piece to it. I think the government's going to hammer that home when they do their closing arguments. And I think you're going to see more of that. And the other thing that we haven't heard much of is what they found on the computers, the cell phones, and all of the forensic analysis of those devices. I think there are some smoking guns to come from the government in the week to come.
All right, so you all heard it, smoking guns. And I told you all the Cassie's mother's testimony absolutely was the element that they needed to prove extortion. Okay, and it also proves coercion because you're coercing Cassie to do certain things that she didn't want to do. Now, listen, I'm going to read a couple of more updates, and then we got to talk about this. One of these male escorts, they call him an ex-gigolo. He's very upset that his name was mentioned during this trial. He said that it's ruined his reputation. Okay, so we're going to get into that. Now, anyway, back to what I was saying about Diddy and the conspiracy and what the legal analyst for CNN has to say about all of this. Saying that you need two people to criminally conspire for this racketeering conspiracy to work. Rogers added that she thinks prosecutors need to answer more questions for the jury related to the racketeering conspiracy charge, saying those other questions those other questions include laying out where are the other conspirators, not only who did things for him like an employee would, but who had a meeting of the minds, a criminal meeting of the minds, that they were all together in this enterprise, because they definitely haven't proven that. Now, as for how the prosecution may go about proving the alleged criminal acts that Combs committed with his business empire, Rogers said they need to identify people within his business who may have been involved in the criminality of what they were doing. Rogers said that they can also show that through testimony with witnesses saying they were directly criminally involved, or by naming others who knew what was going on. So let's talk about that, because here's the thing. They're absolutely going to do this. They're going to have D-Rock. I already told you all D-Rock is going to be a co-conspirator. Then you have Christina Coram, known as KK, a co-conspirator. And this, just please remember, you heard this here first, okay? And then C. Gutta, another co-conspirator. And then the fourth one, Neil Dominique. These are all of Diddy's alleged co-conspirators, okay, given to me by an inside source weeks ago. All right. Now, why are they not charged? Because they're going to testify against Diddy. Okay, so here's from a minute ago. Capricorn Clark says, she said she saw Sean Diddy Combs doing ecstasy and Molly about once a week, in addition to prescription medication. Now, Combs' rug with the D use increased over time. A man called One Stop, remember we heard One Stop, Don Richard mentioned him, and so did David James, the former assistant, okay? She says that a man called One Stop usually provided the rugs when they were in Los Angeles, and the rugs usually were delivered to her or to Combs directly. Combs asked her to get him ecstasy fewer than 10 times. So he's got her picking up ecstasy, or receiving the ecstasy that's delivered. Do you think that she didn't know that was illegal? Of course she knew it was illegal. Okay? She was part of the enterprise. Did she know she was acting as part of an enterprise? I don't think she knew that, but she knew what she was doing was illegal, just like the other two assistants knew that they were doing things that were illegal. So during a trip to France in 2006, Combs asked her to go get Coca-Cola, the kind you put up your nose. And when she asked Combs who it was for, Combs responded that it wasn't for him. Clark then had the security guard obtain the rugs. Clark also would get prescription rugs for Combs. Sometimes the prescriptions were made out to her, and other times they were made out to Combs, she testified. Capricorn Clark, the former director of marketing for Sean Diddy Combs, recalled a time when Combs had 100,000 euros that he made from club bookings in Europe. Clark said she personally counted the cash for Combs and believed he kept it in his personal safe in his bedroom. Now, why are they bringing this up? Y'all listening? Why are they bringing this up? Why are they asking her about these 100,000 euros in club earnings that he kept in his personal safe in the bedroom? Well, they might be trying to say this is tax evasion. Who knows that Diddy didn't report this money or these funds to the IRS because they came from a different country, bookings that he had at clubs in Europe. And then she says that she believed that he kept it in a personal safe in his bedroom. So it was not in the bank, according to her. Okay, y'all don't find that suspicious? Because I sure do. All right, I sure do.
Oh, most definitely. Well, I can't wait to have you both back. Hopefully.
All right. Now let's talk about this S worker. That's right. Rich said hiding cash. Okay. So this guy, I think this is the one. Is this the one they said was Jules? I think this is the one that they were calling Jules. Anyway, ex-gigolo furious about being ID'd in Sean Diddy Combs' trial, says it damaged my reputation. I bet you he's going to want to sue next. A former escort is furious after being identified in Diddy's S trafficking trial. He angrily denied that he ever had a freak off with the rapper's ex, Cassie Ventura. Now, his name is Vin Armani. Okay, he was identified by Ventura as one of those paid to take part in disturbing sex sessions with his photo among those shown during Combs' high-profile trial. But the former Vegas escort who starred in the Showtime reality TV show Gigolos insists it is a case of mistaken identity while ripping prosecutors for not contacting him for his side of the story. He says, "This has sucked for me that my name has been brought into it. I have never had an interaction with Diddy or Cassie that included or where I witnessed violence, illegal drugs with a D, contacting for sexual services or acts such as prostitution with a P, or the transportation of any person from anywhere to anywhere whatsoever," he said. Now, Armani admits that he hung out with literally hundreds of celebrities on a regular basis, but never in one of the now notorious freak-offs central to the case against Diddy. He had an attorney or authority ever contacted me, this fact would have been plain for them to see, he says. Armani, who wrote a 2011 book about his profession called Tale of a Gigolo, said that he was angry after having started a new life in tech and crypto following a move to Saipan, which is a small island in the Pacific. Now, he is furious that a since-deleted TMZ story identified him as Jules. Yeah, they did say he was Jules. I thought it because I was like, this is the one they said was their favorite. Okay. The S worker involved in an infamous 2016 night at the Intercontinental Hotel in Century City, Los Angeles, where Diddy was caught on video viciously beating, kicking, and dragging Ventura. He says this TMC bullshit and the lack of professionalism or competence from the prosecution has damaged my reputation. So it sounded like he's going to try to sue. Okay, he says it's damaged his reputation. I'm going to go to his picture. This is definitely the one that they said was Jules. And TMZ must have taken down the story when they realized that he's not Jules. That's him right there. Looking like a Vin Diesel knockoff. And his name is, that's him right there. He calls himself Vin Armani. My guess is he calls himself Vin Armani because, like I said, he looks like a knockoff version of Vin Rames. I mean, Vin Diesel, not Vin Rames. Okay, so anyway, I think we'll be hearing from him again soon is all I'm saying. Okay, I don't think that's the end of it. Now, this article is about Capricorn Clark. Still waiting for more updates, beloveds. Last one was 5 minutes ago. Okay, so what Diddy's ex-assistant, Capricorn Clark, is expected to reveal when she takes a stand on Tuesday. Okay, she reportedly once dubbed Diddy as the devil. She could spill the tea on the stand Tuesday about the jealousy that sparked his break-in of rapper Kid Cudi's home. Clark's testimony is set to kick off the resumption of the hip-hop mogul's Manhattan S trafficking trial. Cudi, whose full name is Scott Muscudi, testified last week that Clark called him in December of 2011 to warn him that Combs had forcibly entered his Hollywood Hills home after learning Muscudi had been dating Combs' on and off girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. They say the Mr. Rager singer told jurors that he had been with Ventura at the Sunset Marquis Hotel when they received a phone call from Clark, who had sounded very scared and on the verge of tears. Clark said Combs and his security staff had forced her to come with them for the break-in, and this is what Muscudi testified to in federal court. Prosecutors have revealed at the start of the blockbuster trial that jurors would hear about Combs allegedly waking up an employee in the middle of the night and forcing her at gunpoint to come with him and to take him to take him and his bodyguard to the home of a man Ventura had been dating. So they forced her at gunpoint. This is definitely kidnapping and crazy. So Clark could also testify to receiving a shocking December 23rd, 2011 email from Ventura, who wrote that a jealous Combs was threatening to release SEX tapes of her and planning to have someone hurt me and Scott Muscuddy physically. Ventura testified about sending the email, which prosecutors have shown in court, to Clark and to her mother, Regina Ventura, who told jurors that she became physically sick after reading the message. In 2023, after Diddy was hit with one of several lawsuits alleging SEX assault, Clark wrote on her private Twitter account, "Last 11 years of my life, I have had to deal with everyone's nonsensical allegiance to the devil." Of course, she was talking about Diddy, and Diddy is the devil. No lies detected. Clark will become Combs' third former assistant to testify as a government witness at the trial, where the Bad Boy Records founder is accused of leading a criminal enterprise and forcing his romantic partners into freak-offs or rug-fueled SEX marathons with prostitutes. Okay. Another former assistant, David James, testified that the paranoid rap superstar once forced Clark to take a lie detector test after she was robbed, to prove that she wasn't part of the heist. Jurors will also hear from witnesses at the Los Angeles Police and Fire Department before the end of the day on Tuesday. Okay, so there you have it. There you have it, folks. DJ Big Six said, did they press any charges? No. Now, Kid Cudi did call the police and report that someone broke into his house and also that someone threw a Molotov cocktail inside of his car. He did do that. I don't know whether or not he told them that he thought it was Diddy. Seems that if he had done so, they may have investigated Diddy, but they don't make any mention of that. So I don't know. This is all just very interesting. Okay, still no updates from Inner City Press since almost an hour ago, like 53 minutes ago. And then still waiting on CNN. Okay. American Instant said no one called the police because their boss had a rug and SEX addiction. Could be. I don't know. Okay, so while we're waiting, let's go to this report about Remy and Papoose, because this is where Cameron and Mace spoke on it. Hold on. And there's a lady who did a TikTok, honey, and this lady was going in, and I absolutely am here for it. Okay, so while we wait, that's right, Reggie, you heard it here first, beloved. Okay, so now while we wait for further, here's an update right here, and not a moment too soon. From 1 minute ago, Capricorn Clark, a former assistant to Sean Diddy Combs, recounted a time that she was at Combs' Miami home in the summer of 2006. Okay, she said when she arrived, Combs told her, "I don't care what goes on this weekend, you are not to leave this house." Combs later directed Clark to escort a guest to another location in Miami, and she said that she stayed for about an hour before receiving a call from Combs asking where she was. Clark said that when she returned to Combs' home, he told her, "See, your problem is you want a life, and you can't have that here." Okay? And he told her again not to leave the house. Following day, Clark said that she told Combs, the chef, "I hate it here." And the chef relayed that to Combs. He immediately looked at me and said, "You hate it here?" And he charged me, she says. She said Combs began pushing her and demanded that she get out of his house. Clark said Combs pushed her about 30 yards before using 75% of his force. Eventually, one of Combs' security guards intervened by telling Combs to stop and telling Clark to go pack her belongings. Clark testified that she left her job after this incident because it was crossing my boundary. First of all, why did the chef go run and tell Diddy, knowing that he's crazy? Okay, clearly the chef was not her friend. So in 2011, Capricorn Clark, a former employee of Sean Diddy Combs, was also managing Cassie Ventura as her creative director. Clark said Combs had final approval over everything, including Ventura's physical appearance and every opportunity Ventura could or couldn't take. Okay. Diddy is something else, but I'm sure we all have come to realize that now. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to use an overlay because this is someone else's video. Like something, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go.
Listen, I went on that Angela Yee and did that interview. Remy Ma would have never said nothing. Remy Ma had every opportunity to say something. But when it comes down to them, she always gotta be the entitled. Like she gotta be the attention. Remy Ma is not trending. Okay? Nobody is thinking about Remy Ma. Come on now. Nobody thinking about her. You're mad because now here it is, the shine is on another black queen. And the man that you once loved is now loving on her. Let that man love her out loud. Stop getting on here being bitter and mad. Because if you were so happy with your man, what you said yesterday, what she said, she would have never let come out her mouth. I don't give a hell how much I'm in love with my man. I'm not discussing another man while he's around with him. And then you have to come on here and say, when we laid up yesterday, girl, no, you was. I believe, Papoose, you was on his phone. You was beating his phone down because you think that video going viral.
Well, in case you've been under a rock somewhere or out of the country, wherever you've been, we know that this thing they call
that he begged for, but telling you he wants another one. You have your.
Now I want you all to listen to this because this is Remy acting as though she's giving Clarissa Shields advice. Again, my question to Remy is, why do you care? Okay, why are you concerned about this woman and what she's doing? Okay, please pay attention. She is so darn jealous. It's ridiculous. Reggie said, my opinion about Remy is she's an impetuous child, jealous and rude. She absolutely is. Okay, now she just got through calling this young lady a man the other day, called her Clarence rather than Clarissa, and called her a he instead of a she. Okay, was talking trash about her, said anytime that she mentions her or Pap, she's going to go in on Pap. This is what Remy said. But now she's acting as though she is concerned. Please pay attention, honey.
Your whole life ahead of you. Why are you attaching yourself to this 47-year-old man that doesn't have anything going, has no career, no job, no income, except for the income that he's claiming off of you, your percentage, because he's your manager? Got you out here talking, looking crazy. He's the one that don't want to sign, don't want to get his stuff out of his ex-house.
First of all, Remy, you're the one that's looking crazy. Clarissa's not looking crazy at all. You're the one looking crazy. You're trying so desperately to get this woman to break up with him. Why do you care? That's because you're mad, butthurt, bit out of shape, and angry and bitter. Move on with your life with a dusty wrapper, okay? This is so obvious that she is jealous. I mean, she's asking her, why are you with this man who's 47 years old, has no job? Girl, this is just giving so cringe for me right now. Okay, she is making such an idiot of herself. We already know why you're doing it, but let's let her cook.
Doesn't be there for his child that he begged for, but telling you he wants another one. Let me guess. He's telling you he want a son, right? He has a son. He has a son. He just doesn't like his son's sexual preference, so he acts like he doesn't have a son. He has a son. We have a son who is very much alive and well.
Now, here's the thing. The other day when she threatened to put his son on the live, she did that because apparently, according to her, his son is transgender. So I guess she thought that was going to make Papoose mad or embarrass him. I don't know what her motivation is other than that. That's what it sounds like to me. But she really needs to mind her own business. And why is she outing the son? Did he ask her to put his business on Front Street? Okay, I have several questions for this fool. Okay, Judge Wood says, so she was fired, which is why she's capping. Yeah, she was fired, beloved. Yeah, I mean, you never know. I mean, that is likely what the defense will try to portray her as, some disgruntled employee, perhaps, on the cross exam. I would imagine. Thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings.
And probably feels slighted sometimes. He does. And my son, who has been like a son to him most of his life. When we got together, our children was 4 years old. They're now 24. I would be telling you, girl, get your ass from over there. What are you talking about? That's what I would be doing if that was my friend. I'm not hating on nobody. Like I told you at the very beginning, that is corny. It's a come up and it's corny. Okay? That's what's happening right now. That's what's happening. And you don't even see it because I get all the sweet talking and this. And of course, I got to be the villain. She ain't shit. She this and I'm this. Show me a woman that had a man that was doing her right and she just shitted on him for no reason.
Did she just say show her a man who was doing a woman right and she just itched on him for no reason? Well, Remy, there's the woman right there sitting on the screen. Her name is Remy Ma. Okay, girl, here's the thing. No matter what you say about Papoose, honey, nobody's taking your side, okay? A few fools will, but other than that, everybody sees exactly who you are and what you're up to, and you look like a whole fool. Okay, please pay attention.
This is facts. What are we talking about? I literally told my friend, they was like, yo, you think he ever gonna leave? I was like, when he finds a replacement, when he finds someone who he think he can have doing all that I was doing, then he'll leave.
She claimed that she don't care, but why you out here talking? Like you got Easy the Black Captain. Like y'all got Christmas pictures with him on his hand on your cheeks. Y'all going to Eagles games. Y'all just out in public everywhere. You don't care. You don't care. You doing you. You basically saying that you was taking care of Pat and you calling him Papoose, right? So you don't care. You don't we know that he said that Papoose said that he snuffed him. But you got, the crazy thing is this, right? You got some women on here, right, still taking up for Remy and coming online saying a bunch of foolishness. Now I'm gonna address this, but I want y'all to hear this idiot, right? Check this out.
Another woman all he want, that is still the same man. And I know different women bring out different situations, but this man didn't even want to leave his woman. She literally had to get on the internet and expose him for him to even be embarrassed enough to move around. But why I don't like Clarissa, and I told her this on Twitter yesterday, I don't give a fuck. I keep it real raw and
Okay, first of all, let me just tell you all something. There's a certain type of females, women, shall I say, who agree with Remy. And I want you to pay attention to this because this is exactly the type that you should expect to agree with Remy. I mean, look at her. She's a whole hood rat. Now you know that. Well, I'm so glad you asked. Because for one, is she lying on a bed and doesn't she have a towel or a cover wrapped up around herself? She couldn't even have the decency to get fully dressed. And then listen to the way she talks, okay? This is a hood rat. All of the hood rats agree with Remy, I'm so sure. Okay, all of the hood rats lack common critical thinking skills and common sense. Okay, so of course they're going to agree with Remy because Remy herself is a hood rat. Okay, it is the return of the hood rats. They all will stand together in unison. This is what they do. Pretty Wing said she sounds annoying. Yes, she absolutely does. Listen to her voice. She sounds very much so uneducated and foolish. And nonetheless, as I said, she is a hood rat. I could just see her and Remy Ma and a bunch of other hood rats just like them all sitting on a stoop in New York talking trash about Papoose and Clarissa. And at the same time acting as though they really don't give a darn. Please pay attention, but let her cook.
direct. 30 years old beefing with this grown-ass woman about a man she been with for 20 years on the motherfucking internet. As successful as you are with so much to offer and so many opportunities, you choose to go play second to a female that's with a nigga that cheated on her, kept this image like he was the perfect mother man, and y'all men, y'all be blowing me with that selective outrage. Oh, she cheated on him. She cheated on him. What about with the cheated on her? If y'all think that man held that lady down for 8 years and ain't get his shit wet, you crazy out your mother brain.
Now let me say this about some women.
Beloved, no one thinks that he didn't do anything as he actually for 7 years while she was in prison. Okay, I'm sure he did. I'm pretty sure we all know that he did. But at the end of the day, she was getting hers too while she was in prison. And not to mention, she's the one who went to prison. Okay? And I want y'all to pay attention. Remy sitting up here trying to expose Pap's son, call him out about his son, and you know who's transgender. But girl, your son is a whole murderer in prison. And he got it from his mama, okay, because she almost killed somebody over 2 stacks and then had the nerve to brag about it in a rap. Okay, but let's continue.
Especially certain women in this sector, right? You got like the idiot red pill dudes, and then you got these idiot pink pill women, right? Where women can do no wrong. See, a lot of women like to project I'm gonna say this because I'm going at women right now in this video, right? I'm gonna say this. A lot of women like to project their bad decisions and bad behaviors onto other people. So she's coming on here and she's talking about he probably was cheating. You think he didn't get his stuff wet in those 6 years? Well, wait a minute. Let's use logic, especially for my smart women out here that support my channel. She shot somebody. She went to jail and did 6 years in jail for shooting another woman. So since you such on defending women, you don't let me shot another woman, right? And then she was lucky to have a man to hold her down, come up to the jail, which she admitted. Right, so she actually was privileged to have somebody that actually cared about her to want to hold her down and be there for her. How does woman conveniently just left that part out? So you mean to tell me because he didn't have to be with her? So he went and got some here and then she in jail. He not in jail. She chose the street life and thug life over her man. She chose the thug life and street life over her children. She chose the thug life and street life over her freedom.
Never sue the other driver after a car accident. There's a better way to get paid away.
Now, we're going to get back to that in just a second, but let's get into these updates. And everything that he said is absolutely true. No lies detected. And only a hood rat would agree, would say otherwise. Okay, because the facts are the facts. Now, with that all been said, let's go into these updates from CNN. Okay, I'm not sure what was the last one. Let me see. Okay, here we go. In 2011, Capricorn Clark, a former employee of Sean Diddy Combs, was also managing Cassie Ventura as her creative director. Okay, I read that. Okay, so former employee for Sean Diddy Combs, Capricorn Clark, and his Sean John Fashion Company, has started testifying about Cassie Ventura dating rapper Kid Cudi in December of 2011. This is from 1 minute ago. Now, Clark, Ventura, and Kid Cudi sometimes would hang out, she said. One time, Ventura texted her asking if they could pick up Kid Cudi, and Clark told Ventura to delete the text because Combs paid for both of their phones. Clark said that she was very concerned about Combs finding out about the relationship between Ventura and Kid Cudi. Okay, so now I want you all to pay attention because this is right here is telling us that Cassie was playing both Diddy and Kid Cudi, just like Kid Cudi said. Not that that's a big factor, but I just thought I'd point that out because they were trying to act as though she didn't have overlaps in the relationship with Kid Cudi and Diddy. Okay, like her and Diddy were completely done. But obviously she was still with Diddy if Diddy's still paying for her phone. Okay, so anyway, goes on to say that she was very concerned about Combs finding out about the relationship between Ventura and Kid Cudi. Clark then took Ventura to Best Buy to buy a burner phone. Okay, now remember, Ventura dated Combs from 2007 to 2018. Kid Cudi testified last week that he dated Ventura in December of 2011. He believed at the time that Ventura was not romantically involved with Combs anymore. That's what Kid Cudi testified to, and that's why he said Cassie was leading a double life and that she played him. Because he said he was in love with her, and he thought she was in love with him too, because that's what he testified to. Okay, now, Capricorn Clark's voice has been quivering through much of her testimony this morning. Clark, a former employee of Sean Diddy Combs, has been describing what it was like to work for the rapper. Wonder why her voice is quivering, probably nervous. So one day in December of 2011, Sean Diddy Combs showed up at Capricorn Clark's house banging on her door. According to Clark, she could see through the peephole that Combs' pants were split up the seam from the knee upward, exposing his underwear. When she opened the door, Clark saw that he was holding a gun and was furious. Combs entered the home saying, "Why didn't you tell me?" And then he asked her about Kid Cudi. Clark testified that Combs, still holding the gun, told her, "Get dressed. We're going to go kill it." What now? Get dressed. We're going to go kill it. When she tried to protest, Combs said, "I don't give a F what you want to do. Get dressed." Clark said she was afraid, and this was the first time Combs had been to her home in Los Angeles. Clark said Combs was livid, furious, mad at me. "I had never seen him with a weapon. I never seen him making me do something like this," she said. This is all real crazy. Now, Capricorn Clark said she returned to work for the hip-hop mogul after a 2006 incident at his Miami home, but not directly under him. She testified that she accepted the director of marketing position for Sean John Women's Line because she didn't have to work directly with him. "I didn't want that close proximity in his personal orbit like that," she said. Now, Capricorn Clark is giving more details about what happened after Sean Diddy Combs showed up at her home in December of 2011. She said that she and Combs got into the backseat of the car that one of his security guards was driving. The gun was in Sean Combs' lap. Now that sounds just like what the other guy said, okay? David James. He said that Diddy had 3 guns sitting on his lap, okay? Remember that? He specified that they were in his lap, same as she has, okay? So anyway, they drove to Kid Cudi's house where Combs and the security guard entered the home. Clark said that she stayed in the car and called Cassie Ventura, Combs' former girlfriend, who was dating Kid Cudi at the time, on a burner phone. She testified that she told Ventura that Combs had come to her house with a gun and then gone to Kid Cudi's house to kill him. She said she then changed Ventura's contact name in her phone to show the name Stormy, so Combs wouldn't know that she had called Ventura. Clark said that she could hear someone yelling, "He's in my house," in the background when they were on the phone, and Ventura told her she was with Kid Cudi. Ooh, honey, this is all crazy. While she's out there calling Cassie, honey, she should have called the police, because Diddy is insane. Let me tell you something. When you start showing up at people's houses with guns, talking about "we're going to kill him," where, sir, why are you speaking like that? You may be going to do something, but what you're not going to do is take me with you, honey. I'd have been sitting down in that car calling the whole SWAT team if I could, okay? Absolutely egregious. Diddy is absolutely the devil, honey. Okay, but let's get back to Remy. Her nefarious self. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go.
This woman, which you could tell, I guarantee my life on it, she's a single mom with no accountability. She just left all that part out. So now she coming on here defending Remy, right? With all her bad, with all that she claimed this man did for her, then she's showcasing his new boyfriend and showing no accountability and running her mouth. But this is some of the stuff that we got to deal with in our community. When we talk about black men killing each other, not taking care of their kids, we got to deal with the mentality of some of our women like this. So when I say I'm not pro-black man or pro-black woman, I'm pro-black community. I want her out the community just as well as I want the real N-words out the community. All of them are no good. You got to get rid of them all, right? But then you have Cameron and Mace, right? And Cameron and Mace, they spoke on it, right? You know, and their friends are both of them in the industry, and they came on their channel, you know, they said this.
Look at Remy and Pat. She going crazy all weekend over that, man. Shit, wow, my nigga. All because of this piece of paper. They was black love. Now, I'm not taking nobody's side. Remy's my friend and Pap's my friend. I don't have a side in this. All because of some paper. Shit is messy all weekend. Remy pulling out pawn shop receipt, talking about her Cartier bracelet is missing. Pap talking about he knocked the nigga out that she dating. It's been a mess all weekend. You know why? Because of this piece of paper. When you're a girlfriend or boyfriend, just leave. And I know squad is right. You ain't staying that long to where you think you live here. Because they'll run that too, fellas. Don't get caught up in that. Try and kick her out, and it's been 8 months, and now she got squatters' rights and all that shit. Yo, get that 10-day joint, go home for 10 and come back for 10 if you really like her. Because at the end of the day, it's too many laws for the person without the money. Now, you know who's probably your sucker to all the females? Now, it's cool when they do it. It's probably when Kevin Federer do it. Kevin Federer is up $100 million off of 3 wives. Britney Spears, forget the other 2 actresses, but women to say he's a sucker because he doing what Dre or somebody doing. Somebody with more money is doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, shout out to Kevin Federer.
What happened with the Pap and Remy thing?
You don't know what's going on?
How was that Graduations all?
Oh, it's all over the place. Yeah, you ain't gonna catch up on this show. You gotta go to the shade room and start from Thursday. Basically, it's been alleged over the last 2 years probably that she was dating the battle rap dude that she was messing with.
Yeah, I heard of that.
And that's been confirmed now that Pap is going out with Clarissa. What happened was this. Clarissa won the Breakfast Club, and basically, to me, she didn't diss Remy, my personal opinion. I can't tell Remy how to feel. But she's like, you know, females are a little emotional, but, you know, Clarissa talked crazy. She wasn't talk crazy. And Remy just went off on Pap after that, saying he ain't see the kid and this, that, and the third, and pawn shot receipts. Then Pap got on. Pap really don't talk. Pap got on live, and he was talking for about an hour. Then Remy came back and
Pap was talking for an hour?
Yeah, he was talking for an hour.
Pap don't say nothing.
He don't talk a lot. And you know what was the illest joint for me out this? Like I said, we can't catch up all on the show. But last thing I'll say was Pat played the voice recordings of Remy. And this was trying to be one of the most gaffles I ever heard. Shout out to Remy for even trying it. I'm gonna give Remy the credit for even trying it. And like I said, I have no dog in the race. They both my friends, both of them. But Remy told Pap. So Pap knocked the nigga out. Pap saying that homeboy came, gave him a 5 after he's fucking his wife, and he didn't know he was fucking her. So Pap's attitude is, you don't shake no nigga that had sex with your wife. So he's like, basically, whenever I see him, I'm knocking him out. So Pap knocked him out. And then Remy called him, I guess it's a Remy event. Remy called and said, yo, now you wild out. Now I got to be with the nigga so he don't press charges and do all the wild shit. Now I can't even curve the nigga. I was just about to curve him. Now I got to make sure he good cause you wilding. And I'm like,
Remy a nigga, Remy playing uptown games with niggas, Remy gotta chill.
But you hear her, and he played the voice note, so it was crazy how passionate she was about it. She's basically like, nah, nigga, come on now. Now you gonna do that? When I was just about to stop fucking with the nigga, now I gotta make sure we good, so I gotta stay next to the nigga. And I'm like, you going for that? So I'm like, all right, if you wanna go for that, good.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was true or not, Rem. I'm sorry, I don't want no smoke. I don't want no smoke with Rem, man.
Yeah.
That nigga Pap got it tight though. He like them joints that can protect themselves. He definitely do.
That's sad. That's sad.
But see, I like the last Remy got a show, pardon me, not a show, a song with Fat Joe called Summertime. I heard it a few months ago. And I was like, Rem must be off parole, man. She talking spicy. Her first 2 bars said, I shot my friend over a band, and imagine what I do to a bitch I can't stand. I said, yeah, I don't want no problems with Rem. Rem did shoot her friend over a band and then rapped about it and said, if I do that to the people I love, what I do to you. Some tough bars right there.
This goes back to how we get here over love, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple more updates, but I want you all to think about Remy Because remember how Pap said that she doesn't even get along with her own family? So then she did a video the other day saying that, oh, the person that was controlling me is not able to control me anymore. If they said they had a problem with somebody, I would cut the person off. They isolated me from people. So now what she's trying to do is she's trying to make it seem as though Pap is the reason that she wasn't getting along with her family, because he obviously didn't care for them. But that's all cap, because the family's still dealing with him. Okay, and that's why she's mad. Okay, according to him. Now, with that all being said, 4 minutes ago, Capricorn Clark, a former employee of Sean Diddy Combs, warned Cassie Ventura that Kid Cudi shouldn't confront Combs. Clark testified that she told Ventura, Cassie, stop him. He is going to come get himself killed. Ventura said she couldn't stop him. Clark testified that she understood Kid Cudi was on his way to his house. When Combs got back in his car, he asked who Clark had been talking to. She called Ventura's burner phone, which was the last. He called Ventura's burner phone, which was the last record in Clark's call log. Combs was furious and said, "Yikes! What the F is this number?" Ooh. A short time later, Kid Cudi pulled up next to Combs' Escalade outside his home, and then accelerated away. Combs' vehicle followed in pursuit. So they chased him? They gave chase? It felt like forever, but couldn't have been longer than a minute, Clark testified about the pursuit. Former Sean Diddy Combs employee Capricorn Clark is now testifying about what happened directly after Combs and a security guard were at Kid Cudi's home in December of 2011. Clark, Combs, and his security guard went to a nearby nightclub, she says. Combs directed Clark to call Cassie Ventura and tell her that he has me and he's not going to let me go until I come get her. On the phone, Ventura responded that Clark should come get her. Combs then said that she and Ventura needed to convince Kid Cudi not tell the police that Combs was involved in the break-in at Kid Cudi's home. Combs told her, if you guys don't convince him of that, I'll kill you. Ooh, honey, isn't this crazy? Isn't this crazy? Well, you know what I would have said to get Kid Cudi not to report it? I'd have said, look, Diddy said he's going to kill me if you go to the cops. That's what Cassie probably said. This is all so crazy. Okay, James L. said, not a whole car chase. Yes, like these people are. These people had to endure a lot dealing with the Diddy. Diddy is absolutely insane, okay? Absolutely insane.
Sign the prenup.
Oh, God.
So this is a situation that everybody's speaking on. You know, Cameron and Mace, they've been in the industry for over 25 years. They are from New York, so they know Remy and Papoose. So, you know, it's only but so far they're going to go in the criticism or conversation because they have a friendship with both of them, right? But Remy, you know, she made a post where she said, this is what Papoose was threatening to post and more. This is why he's so mad. This is why he want to go to games and been seen, because he thinks it's payback. But I don't care, right? But if she don't care, why she posted it? It's payback, but I don't care. He's had photos and videos for years. He mad that I'm actually smiling and laughing again. I'm not ashamed of anything I've done. Not even all I have done. Not even all I have done.
Now I want you all to pay attention to something. I want you all to pay attention to something because she really just told on herself. Okay, she literally just told on herself. She said he's mad because I'm laughing and smiling again. First of all, Pap is not the one that's mad. Anytime he has spoken out about this, he never seemed angry, hostile, or bitter. He was just telling it from his perspective. Okay, she's the one who is clearly mad. Okay, please pay attention. Okay, she's the one who is mad, and now she's projecting it, talking about this is the reason. Girl, please sit down somewhere, okay? That's all I'm saying. I have several questions. Hold on, you guys. Okay, hold on. I accidentally closed out the tab. Let me pull this back up. Yeah, she's talking about he's mad. No, you're mad. And that's why you're on this live. Okay, why you've been going live every day talking trash. And then going in on Clarissa for really no reason, because Clarissa didn't do anything. Okay? Didn't do a darn thing. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to have to, hold on. Try to go back to the part we were at. All right. Now let me reshare this, you guys. Sorry for the inconvenience. Here we go.
They've been in the industry for over 25 years. They are from New York, so they know Remy and Papoose. So it's only but so far they're gonna go in the criticism or conversation because they have a friendship with both of them, right? But Remy, she made a post where she said, "This is what Papoose was threatening to post and more. This is why he's so mad. This is why he want to go to games and been seen because he thinks it's payback, but I don't care, right? But if she don't care, why she posted it? It's payback, but I don't care. He's had photos and videos for years. He mad that I'm actually smiling and laughing again. I'm not ashamed of anything I've done. Not even all I have done. Not even all I have done for you. I did it because I'm the realest ever. You claim I was so bad and said all these horrible habits I have. Yet you stayed for my daughter. Nah, you stayed hoping I would come back. And when you saw I wasn't falling for the usual tactics, you said F me and F my baby, but had to lie."
I had my husband take a photo for me and show me my results, and literally,
and say I'm keeping you away for your image, and that's also why you stayed for 6 years, 4 months, and 10 days. Oh my God, I was away because I'm really who I say I am. I've been home for 11 years now. So she says she's away because she's really who she says she is. So now she's bragging about bringing harm to somebody, right? I don't owe anyone anything. I'm a great mom, was a great wife, and just want to be left alone like I leave everyone else alone. Sidebar, I'm private. So this all has taken a lot out of me.
Since when has she been private? And if this is taking so much out of her, just stop. You don't have to be on here putting your business on display, but you're doing so because you're jealous and angry and you're trying to cause a rift between Papoose and Clarissa. Now, Judge Wood said Kid Cudi didn't say anybody was chasing him. You're right. He didn't say that to my knowledge, beloved. You're absolutely right. Okay, maybe he just didn't mention it for whatever reason. I don't know. But thank you for your insight to the topic and your contribution to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, now here's an update from 3 minutes ago. CNN. Capricorn Clark said that after Sean Diddy Combs allegedly broke into Kid Cudi's home, she approached Cassie Ventura, who was still with Kid Cudi. Clark told him, "If you tell on him, he's going to hurt us." According to Clark, Ventura responded by asking her, "Do you really think he will?" Yeah, Cassie, you should know that better than anybody. Clark said Ventura then went with Clark to Combs' Los Angeles rental home. Combs was in a robe and underwear and immediately began kicking Cassie. Clark said that she and the security guard stood by as Combs repeatedly kicked Ventura. Clark said Combs threatened to hurt her too if she tried to stop him from hurting Ventura. Clark said that she left after the security guard told her to leave, and Ventura was still on the ground while Combs continued to kick her. Clark said that she called Ventura's mom, Regina Ventura, as she left the property, saying, "Please help her. I can't call the police, but you can." This is what she told the mom. Regina said that she would handle it and hung up. From 1 minute ago, the jury again saw the email Cassie Ventura sent Capricorn Clark and her mother on December 23rd of 2011 under the alias Veronica Bang, referencing the threats from Sean Diddy Combs to Ventura and Kid Cudi. Clark testified that she can't remember if she responded to the email. Ooh, this is all a whole lot, but let's keep listening.
To even do, but enough is enough. To all the friends and family that tried to intervene, I appreciate and love you all. Double sidebar. To any woman out there saying because it used to be good or for the kids, don't. Stay because the person actually loves you and is actively changing for the better, not because you're scared to leave and worried about what people will say. So that's her saying that. And I told you guys when it comes to marriage, right? Do not watch these athletes, entertainers, and put your marriage or relationships desires around these people. Please don't do that. Please don't do that, because it's never what you think it is. These people are not who they say that they are, man. So you see images of them being at Flyers games, images of them being at Eagles games, and Easy Block Captain, he just loved it. He out here having it his way, right? But I listen, man. I keep telling y'all, marriage is not something that's promised to you like life or death. It's something that you got to fight for. Is a fight every day, especially in a climate that's anti-marriage. So stay away from these people, man. Keep everybody out your business. And the last thing, do not look at other people and say, see, that's why I'm not getting married. That ain't got nothing to do with you. What they got going on ain't nothing got you. Stay married because you want to get married, because you want to stay married. Life is about the choices that you make. So don't put somebody else's imperfections and bring it on to you. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm married because I chose to be married. I'm still married after 25 years because I want to be married. That's why. So I do the things I need to do to make it work and work it out. Right? So I'm going to cut this video short here. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe.
All right. So shout out to Street Media for that very interesting commentary. And he's absolutely right. Okay. I absolutely agree with everything he said. Remy is just a liar who lies, and then said that she was scared to leave because she was worried about what people would say. Now, you all know that's all cap. Okay. Do you all really think that Remy gives a darn what people say? If she was worried about what people say, she wouldn't have had her little side piece all up and through the clubs, all booed up. Well, she's got a whole husband at home with her daughter. Okay. She doesn't care what people say. That's a fact. Okay, that is a fact. Okay, she's just sitting out here, now she wants to act like she's being so noble. If I was her friend, I would tell her, girl, why are you wasting your time with a 47-year-old man who's broke, who has nothing going for himself except for the money that you're giving him for trying to manage you and this, that, and the third. First of all, he's not her manager. Okay, that's for number one. Remy needs to mind her damn business. She is so mad and hell-bent on trying to destroy their relationship. And I don't know how her stupid, dusty little battle rapper, okay, I don't know how he doesn't have sense enough to say it. He's literally sitting right beside her laughing when she's doing this dumb stuff. Okay? And I believe that she absolutely was trying to get Papoose back, just like he said days ago. Of course she was. It's obvious she wants this man because she doesn't want anyone else to have it. Okay, why would you be sitting here telling this woman, oh, I don't know why you're with him? Girl, it's none of your business why she's with him, because she wants to be, apparently. Okay, mind the business that paid you. All right, make it all make sense. Okay. Mel said he's a scrub. Okay. Exactly. Clearly a scrub. Then she's sitting there talking about he has an 800 credit score. Girl, bye. The 800 credit score. He probably doesn't even have $800 in his bank account, let alone an 800 credit score. Make it all make sense. Okay. Let me see if there's anything new from Inner City Press. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Hold on, beloveds. Okay, so this is Inner City Press. AUSA says, what did you see through the peephole? Capricorn Clark says, a furious puff. Okay, Agnifilo says, objection. The judge says, ask another question, Ms. Steiner. AUSA says, what was his movement? Capricorn says, pacing with something in his hand. AUSA says, did you open the door? She says, I did. Okay, AUSA says, what was he wearing? Capricorn says, button-down sweater, torn pants, and he was holding a gun. He came into my apartment and said, why didn't you tell me? Who is Scott? I said, I don't know any Scott. AUSA said, what did he say? She says, we're going to kill this ninja. So he clearly didn't know that Scott was Kid Cudi at the time, I guess. Who said we're going to kill this ninja? Okay, so then from 2 minutes ago, AUSA says, did you get a job offer? Capricorn Clark says, I did, but it fell through. I couldn't get a job. AUSA says, did you settle with Mr. Combs? She says, in October of 2012 for Agnifilo says, objection, can I approach? So he cuts her off before she says how much she settled with Combs for. It's showing a picture of her crying on the stand from the little artist. This artist does some scary work. Okay, during sidebar, there's a court art. Here's the court art of Capricorn Clark, courtesy of Inner City Press. Okay, I'm gonna show you all this person who's doing the sketch for the sketches for the court clearly is not very good. Okay, where did they find this person? I have questions. Y'all see it? There she is wiping tears from her eyes. DJ Big Six said, what is she crying for? I don't know. But they said that guy David James was up there crying a little bit too. Don't know, beloved. And so anyway, that's all for now. He asked for a sidebar. So I want to know why he wanted a sidebar over that question. Okay, here it is. Okay, they're back. AUSA says, aside from that settlement agreement, do you have any other pending litigation against Mr. Combs? She says no. AUSA says, did you go back to work for him? She says, 2016, no one else would hire me. Cassie had a new record deal with Epic. Girl, you went back to work for him in 2016? Honey, I'm sorry. These people got to be crazy as hell to me. I don't give a darn if nobody else would hire me. I would make my own darn job before I went back to work for a fool who kidnapped me in the middle of the night at gunpoint, telling me that we're about to go kill somebody. Then you leave me in the car. You go break in that man's house. Okay, and then when you come outside, you check my phone, demand that I tell you who I was talking to. And then you give chase. Yeah, I'm good on that. Okay, I'm good on that. I don't know why some of these people keep going back to Diddy. This is all crazy. Okay, makes no sense. It's not going to get any better. If anything, it's going to get worse. So anyway, she says in 2016, no one else would hire me. Cassie had a new record deal. AUSA says, who did you have to get approvals from? She says Sean Combs. Cassie was taking more rugs with a D. AUSA says, was she still dating Mr. Combs? She says, yes. In December of 2023, why did you retain an attorney? She says, I was traumatized by Cassie's civil complaints. This is all a hot mess. Okay, so anyway, honey, we'll wait for more updates, but this is all crazy. I don't know why anybody would still be fooling with Diddy after the things that these people claim that they went through with him. Okay, I just don't get it. And Judge Wood, thank you again for your contribution to the channel, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so now here we are back with CNN. Last we left off was when she said she didn't remember if Cassie's mother responded to the email. Okay, said she can't remember if she responded to the email. Okay, now, 1 minute ago, after the events of late 2011, Sean Diddy Combs would angrily ask Capricorn Clark why she didn't tell him about Cassie Ventura's brief relationship with Kid Cudi. Okay, now one time Combs told her, I should kill you bitches and I should cut your face. Clark estimated that Combs threatened her about 50 times between December of 2011 and the following summer. And you went back in 2016, girl. Now, after the December 2011 incident, Sean Diddy Combs told Capricorn Clark that she couldn't be friends with Cassie Ventura. They could only see each other for work. So Diddy told her that she couldn't be friends with Cassie. Y'all can only see each other for work. So he was very controlling. You gonna tell this woman who she can't be friends with, who Cassie can have as friends or not? Okay. Clark testified that her relationship with Ventura changed after that. Clark also said that in early 2012, she informed someone in Human Resources and Harv Pierre, the former president of Bad Boy Records, about the kidnapping incident and how Combs wanted to kill Kid Cudi and beat Ventura. Honey, her Pierre probably didn't do a darn thing. Okay, so hold on. Okay, here it is right here. I was trying to find my place. Okay. And beat Ventura. Pierre just told her, that's crazy, but it's going to be okay. What? Capricorn Clark said that she was fired in August of 2012. She said that she was still being sent work while she was on a vacation. So she told an HR employee that Sean Diddy Combs was mad at her because she didn't tell him his girlfriend was cheating on him. She was terminated shortly after that, she said, and accused of improperly taking a vacation. Capricorn Clark, Sean Diddy Combs' former employee, said after she was terminated, Combs told her that I would never work again, that he would show me that all these people weren't my friends, that he would make me kill myself. Clark testified that she received a settlement through Combs' attorneys over wrongful termination allegations in the fall of 2012. She did not disclose the amount on the stand. Yeah, because Agnifilo silenced her. Okay? Objected. Now, the prosecution needs to show a pattern of criminal activity by Sean Diddy Combs and his associates to reinforce the racketeering conspiracy charge. This is what legal analyst for CNN, Joey Jackson, said. See, that's what I was telling you all. They have to show that he's been doing this consistently over a period of time. It was a pattern. It was a habit, not just a one-stop. Okay? And I think they're going to be able to do this. Okay, so they say we're talking about the prosecution saying that it was a criminal racketeering enterprise, a conspiracy. And so in order to do that, you have to get people in your inner circle. As we see the assistants who have testified so far, that would establish that over a period of time, there was illegal things happening in this business, that he was agreeing with his confederates who were acting as really as underbosses to carry out his lawless activities. Okay, this is what Jackson told CNN's Wolf Blitzer. Jackson added that the prosecutors would have to make sure their witnesses helped their case by establishing a pattern of criminality, a pattern of threat, a pattern of guns, a pattern of rugs with a D, a pattern of all this lawlessness that would go to show that this was in fact a criminal enterprise that was designed to engage in such behavior over a continuous period of time. Will be very significant if prosecutors want to get through the threshold of proving that it was indeed a criminal racketeering conspiracy. So they're going to have to prove all of this. Okay, they're going to have to show that this was something that went on for years. Okay, so 1 minute ago, prosecutors' direct examination of Capricorn Clark is over. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo will begin cross-examination after the court takes a short break. Okay. This is about to get juicy because I'm here for the cross-examination. Okay, so with that all being said, Capricorn Clark, Sean Diddy Combs' former employee, testified that she retained attorneys in 2023 after Cassie Ventura filed her lawsuit against Combs. The lawsuit traumatized Clark, she says. Clark met with attorneys for Combs in April of 2024, and they spoke about the possibility of her working for one of Combs' companies again. She said that she wanted her life back. Clark never heard from Combs' attorneys after that. Clark testified that she hasn't spoken to Ventura since 2018. Now, though she was fired in 2012, Capricorn Clark returned to work for Sean Diddy Combs as Cassie Ventura's creative director in 2016. And we see that was all to no avail because Cassie never put out any music. Clark hadn't been able to find other work, and she wanted to try to get her life back. Clark reported to Combs, and he approved all of Ventura's projects. Clark testified that she noticed an increase in Ventura's rug with a D use during this time. Clark left the position in 2018, and that was the last time she worked for Ventura, as she testified. So she worked for him until Cassie left. That's what it sounds like. Okay, anyway, this is all crazy. All right, so hold on. I'm going to see what the Breakfast Club is talking about in just a second.
her testimony, her experiences. But before we get there today, Diddy's team, Brian Steele, his attorney, is actually asking for Kid Cudi's testimony to be thrown out. What he's saying is that
Why?
because so they're saying that it's unfair and it's legally irrelevant. They're saying, number one, that there's no proof of what Kid Cudi is saying, that everything is his opinion or what he believes, but there's no evidence, there's no confession from Diddy, and there's no actual receipts.
There's no evidence, but it was a car that was blown up.
So I'm get to that part. So they're also saying that because he has no personal knowledge of seeing Diddy there himself,
no eyewitness.
It's all speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to answer your question, you're talking about a car was blown up, so there should be DNA, there should be all these things, right? That's what you're asking?
No, that's not what I'm asking.
Well, if a car, what Diddy's team is saying is, if a car is blown up and you're going to say that Diddy was lying to you, because remember Kid Cudi said, I asked him about it and I knew he was lying to me. He said that on the stand. If you're going to say that, you need something hard to back that up.
Pause.
Exactly. To back it up. So you need you need something more. Like, we need more evidence. We can't just go off of what you think happened because of all these events that you just put together and said, you know what, he has to be responsible for it. That's what they're saying. Now, getting to the car. So Lance Jimenez, he is a City of LA Fire Department arson investigator. So he's going to get on the stand and testify to responding to the car arson of Kid Cudi's. And they're going to get into this whole DNA conversation, because Brian Steele, when Kid Cudi was on the stand, tried to get to the point that there was DNA found on a bottle in the car on Kid Cudi's Porsche that was blown up, and there was DNA evidence on that bottle that linked to a woman.
That makes no sense to me, because I saw people keep saying that on social media, and I'm like, what, y'all thought that Diddy threw the car, the bottle himself?
That's what I was gonna say. You really think you're gonna see? You think Diddy got out, cut open the top, and then dropped it in there?
You think Diddy got his hands dirty?
Like,
come
on.
Like, that's what y'all really think happened?
I mean, I think they're leaning into one of those. Well, for Diddy's team, they're going to lean into if the glove don't fit. Like, if you don't have the physical evidence that puts him there at the crime doing it, then what are we even talking about right now?
That's true. Unless.
Now, the only way they could really make that fly is if the person who Diddy, if Diddy in fact paid somebody to blow up the car, which I think that he absolutely did. If they have found who that person is and that person testifies that Diddy paid them or got them to do it, and they have some sort of viable proof, like maybe a wire transfer to their bank account from Diddy's or something like that, okay? Or some text messages. DJ Big Six said, yes, exactly. Okay, some sort of cell phone data, exactly. So with that all being said, it is hearsay otherwise. And this is just speculation. But I told you all on Friday that when Kid Cudi was saying that stuff, I think that was not Friday, Thursday, when Kid Cudi was testifying, that if I were the defense, I would say, move to strike on the grounds of speculation, because he was just saying that he thinks Diddy did it. But I'm quite sure we all know Diddy actually had it done, right? Okay, so anyway. Now, here's an update from CNN. Though she was fired in 2012, Capricorn Clark returned to work for Sean Diddy Combs as Ventura's creative director in 2016. Okay, she said she wanted to get her life back. She reported that Combs approved all of Ventura's projects, and then she testified that she noticed an increase in the use of rugs with Ventura. Okay, now, Capricorn Clark, a former employee of Sean Diddy Combs, said arson investigators reached out to her in 2012, asking her to make a statement about an arson incident involving Kid Cudi's vehicle. Clark said she hung up the phone and did not provide a statement. Now, see, that would have been good. Had she done that then, that would have been so good, because had she told them all of this then, it would have already been on the record. And so this would only serve to verify her statements that she's given today, her testimony that she's given today, and also corroborate further what Kid Cudi and Cassie have already said. Now, Clark added that she never discussed an arson incident involving Cudi with Combs. Now, remember, Cudi testified last week that one morning in January of 2012, his dog watcher called him from his home to tell him that his car was on fire. Looking at photos, Cudi explained that it looked like the top of my Porsche was cut open, and that's where the Molotov cocktail was put in, causing further damage that couldn't be salvaged. Sean Diddy Combs' mother and sister are inside the courtroom today. After court recess for a short break, Combs' mother kissed defense lawyer Nicole Westmoreland on the cheek. Combs' sister, Keisha, who has been a constant presence at the trial, is also present today. None of the Combs children are in the courtroom. During Capricorn Clark's testimony, emotional testimony, no less, she often patted her eyes with a tissue. She seemed to avert her eyes from Combs, but as she was leaving the courtroom during the break, she looked over toward his direction, clenched her jaw, and nodded. All right, and this is all getting real. Lorraine said that's not a mugshot of Diddy. Right, that's not Diddy's mugshot. Some people think it is. That's a Haitian guy. You can see that's not even really Diddy. If you look, they have different noses. Okay, Diddy has a mole. They have different eyes. Yeah, definitely not Diddy. His doppelganger, though, perhaps. Okay, so let's see what Inner City News has. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Inner City News says that Capricorn Clark, did you go back to work for him? 2016, no one else would hire me. Cassie had a new record deal with Epic. Okay, then her complaint, Capricorn Clark says her complaint did not reference me. I reached out to Mr. Combs and said, I want my life back. You kidnapped me. Agnifilo said, objection, judge overruled. AUSA says, was there a discussion of you working for Mr. Combs again? She says, yes, as chief of staff. Now that's interesting because that's KK's job, Christina Corbin. That's the job that she had. Okay, so AUSA says, when did you last speak with Miss Ventura? Capricorn says in 2018. AUSA says, and Mr. Muscati, she says 2012. AUSA says no further questions, and that's when they took the break. Agnifilo says, can I start? The judge said, we're taking a break. Okay, so next up is Agnifilo when they come back from the break. This is going to be interesting. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so let's keep listening to the Breakfast Club until further reports come in.
It's just a woman that comes out and says, hey, I was paid by Diddy to do X, Y,
Right.
Z.
Then that's a whole nother conversation. Now, here's the thing. So when the arson detective or investigator gets on the stand, the government is asking the judge to not allow Brian Steele, Diddy's attorney, to even be able to bring up that DNA. And the reason why they're asking that is because they're saying that even though he'll be able to testify that he responded and there were reports taken, he, according to this document that they submitted, the investigator says that they only recovered partial female DNA, and he can't speak to what partial female DNA even means. They also say that he did not personally collect the swabs. He didn't perform the testing himself, and he has no personal knowledge regarding the testing other than what was included in the report. And they're saying that the report basically is like, it's not a full report. So it doesn't talk about any other DNA that would have been possibly found. And they're alleging that this bottle could have went through multiple hands before it got to the car where then, the car was blown up. So
was it a Ciroc bottle?
It just said like a glass, like
was it a De Leon bottle?
They didn't say that. If it would have been that would have been crazy.
Yeah. It wouldn't have did that, I'm sure.
Charlemagne is so ignorant and stupid. Okay, he says the most asinine things. What he's doing is trying to low-key crack jokes with his ignorant self. Okay, but let's continue.
And I'm sure Diddy didn't do it himself, so all the DNA just makes no sense. Like Charlemagne said, unless somebody's gonna come out and say Diddy paid me to do that, like this is.
I'll tell you one thing though, I'm surprised Diddy team ain't raising hell about Capricorn Clark taking the stand.
But that starts today, right?
Capricorn Clark,
Yes.
bring it. I'm telling y'all right now.
People are, if you've been paying attention to this case, even though you might not know her as like a celebrity name, people are really looking forward to her testimony because she has a lot that she can speak to. They're going to want to lean into conversation about his Diddy's alleged jealous rages that he would go when it came to Cassie, the Kid Cudi stuff that we just talked about. There were instances with the woman Gina that Diddy used to date, that another personal assistant said that he witnessed that made him allegedly quit, and he said he went to Capricorn Clark and told her, hey, I'm quitting because this is what I just saw. So Capricorn Clark is a very important witness for both sides because she has seen a lot, and if you can debunk a lot of what she's going to say, you can prove either Diddy right or wrong. And if you can get her on the stand and she fills in a lot of the holes that we've been hearing.
She was Diddy's assistant, right?
She was, one of Diddy's. He had like 4 or 5 assistants, but she was one. It seems like she was like the go-to for a lot of things. She also, there were conversations that Cassie mentioned on the stand where she was involved in like the whole like escorts and getting them to different places allegedly and all these things. So
did we ever find out if these people who are testifying for prosecution are getting immunity?
So I was told by a source that there are conversations about that. And then one of the personal assistants that was on the stand, his name was George Kaplan. He said, I don't want to be here. I still love Diddy, even though this is a very complicated relationship. And they asked him, well, why are you here? Are you receiving some sort of like immunity? He didn't say yes, definitely, but he said that there was a conversation with his attorney, but he couldn't recall the conversation. That is the closest I've gotten to an answer.
If you're giving all these people immunity, of course they're going to say what they want to say because they're not going to be charged, right? They're more likely to represent for the prosecution team than the defense if you're going to give me immunity.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining.
Yes and no, because I mean, if you're immune, you just say whatever. Who's going to do something to you?
You know what I was wondering too? How many of these people were actually Diddy's co-defendants, but then they flipped before trial? Because it's a RICO, right? So when it's a RICO, it got to be more than one person. I wonder how many of these people were actually his co-Ds, but then they decided to give testimony against him.
I would assume a lot, even with Cassie. I mean, anybody that's involved. Maybe CC with Capricorn Clark, maybe James Cruz, whatever.
CC, Capricorn Clark.
Oh,
see, it's CC and KK.
Who's KK?
Christina.
It's too many KKs, CCs.
It's a lot of. He had a lot
when
of big.
Booty gonna hit the stand though?
Who?
Booty.
Because the booty ain't hit the stand.
Yeah.
It's only
Not
week
me
3.
Googling. I want to Google booty witness stand. Like, did I miss a witness? Don't drive me
you
crazy.
Had Punisher on the stage. You had what's the other one's name on the stage?
That was Booty. Yeah.
That was Booty.
Yeah, but that's the booty that just was there to participate. I'm talking about the booty that got penetrated. I know that's coming soon.
Christina Karan is another person that's KK, and then CC is Capricorn Clark. And you really had me looking up booty because I'm like, well, how did I miss booty?
How did I miss booty?
There's more to this because Dawn Richard, you guys remember she took the stand?
Yes.
Now Q from Making Event has come out with some claims against her and all of this as well.
Did you tell us why he was crying yet?
He did tell us why he was crying, but we need to bring it back in the next hour because there's audio and I want to make sure that we can play. But he finally revealed why he was crying about Puff and why he was up allegedly and why. Remember he was up here. He said y'all gonna find out later. He didn't want to talk about it. So we'll get into it at the top of the next hour.
All right. We'll get to that next. Charlamagne, who are you giving your booty to? Your donkey to?
Shut up. Before after the hour, we need a couple of young brothers, Joshua, Thomas Coleman, and Abdul Boyd, to come to the front of the congregation. We'd like to have a word with them.
All right. We'll get to that next. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
You're checking out the Breakfast Club. Wake that ass up early in the morning. The Breakfast Club.
Okay, so now let's see if there's any more updates. Everyone, please hit the like button. Please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Lights shining down in the moonlight, girl, can't help but feel this connection flow with every move. Too long floor where you smile makes me want more. Heartbeat and sing at the sound of soul. Tonight we dance, just lose control. I can't resist.
Okay, so listen, I'm going to go to this video of Harvey Levin and Mark Garagos that they posted a few days ago on the holiday weekend. Basically, this is some stuff about the prosecutors. Okay, so let's listen to this. All right, likes up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you.
assistant and the security guard.
Was this idea of you could not do that constitutionally, gag the defense, unless there was a kind of a safe harbor rule. And in fact, in California, the rules of professional conduct had that under the predecessor rule, a safe harbor rule. All of the judges in those state court cases that were California and Colorado all recognized that fact. Somehow, it has not been, and I've looked at the rule here, it hasn't been challenged. It talks about, if you look at the commentary under the rule in New York, it talks about the fact that they've reenacted it and there is a lack of litigation, which I find astounding because no matter what you say, and actually I was talking with one of the marshals in the courthouse, it's amazing how New York, the large supersized cases have kind of tilted from California to New York, if you notice, as of late. I mean, you don't even know, given this case, that Harvey Weinstein is being retried right now. As we speak, Harvey is being retried. Remember last time, first trial, you couldn't get away from it. This time, you'd have to talk to one of his close relatives to even know he's being retried in the Manhattan court.
You know, I agree with you. I think it's unconstitutional to gag the defense because it's the defense that has the right to a fair trial, not prosecutors. And prosecutors usually often start out in Diddy's case with a news conference. So if they're starting out with a news conference, why can't the defense counter that? That said, there's something else, I think. The judge told the jury, don't look at Diddy stories. So the predicate is we're assuming the jury will violate the judge's order, which is kind of weird. So in that respect, I wonder why the judge would say, well, I'm assuming the jury's not going to listen to me, so I'm going to gag you. Can you at least tell us, I know you're in a bind here, but has the judge made a decision on whether you should or shouldn't be allowed to talk? Because it affects our podcast.
Well, I don't think it's a secret because the transcript was posted of our encounter, and there was I think he said that he would be listening. So,
no, but that was before this latest thing. Has the judge? Here's the thing: will he be listening to you today? I mean, has the prosecution? I think it was this week filed these papers saying he's got to be under this order.
I'm not going there. I'm just talking from the 30,000 foot view at this point.
Okay. Am I allowed to?
Wait, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're my partner under the definition of the rule. You're associated.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. So here's what I'd like to do for 5 minutes. I'm going to ask you another thing
because you've been involved in this. Interestingly, TMZ has been, I mean, you're obviously covering this case. And it's interesting to me when I turn on, or I guess turn on doesn't really do it. When I click on TMZ, I see witnesses, I see lawyers. And by the way, we're in the prosecution case. And that's interesting to me. Where is the clamor that the witnesses shouldn't be talking, or the clamor that the lawyers for witnesses shouldn't be talking? Because it seems like they run straight from, I'm talking 30,000 foot view, run straight from the courthouse to a bank of cameras. And by the way, this also brings us to full circle to what you and I were talking about right before we got on the air. This is part of the problem that's in the federal courts, because at the district court level, you're not allowed to have cameras.
Right.
At least when you were watching Young Thug, or if right now you're watching Karen Reed, when there is that kind of public interest, it's amazing what the different spin, the different interpretation that you get. Now, unfortunately, and I've said this often, biggest mistake I ever made in Peterson was agreeing with the prosecution when they didn't want cameras in the courtroom.
Yeah.
I thought that would dampen interest down. It had the opposite effect. It kind of amplified missing
because you want to know what's going on, and you can't see it with your eyes. So the best you can do is listen to what people say about it, which may or may not be accurate.
I got air scope done on my full abdomen, my waist, my flanks, and the fat transferred to my hip dips.
Well, and take a look. If you listen to, somebody sent me today one particular reporter. If you watch that reporter and then you watch another reporter and you know which entity they're reporting for, you get a completely different viewpoint of what transpired.
I'll do you one better. Within my own office, we have raging debates. We are so divided in this office right now. Oh, I just love this because you're not going to be able to talk about this. And all we can do is judge your reaction. But we're having such a huge debate over this racketeering charge. Because I'll tell you, my opinion about this is that, you look at him, firebombing Kid Cudi's car, breaking into Kid Cudi's house. You listen to, the confrontation that he wanted to have with Suge Knight and all these other things. Most of it, to me, does not seem like racketeering, which to me is an organization that has some underlying crime venture like selling drugs or gun running or hitman or something like that. To me, most of this is this out of control, crazy, criminal, jealous boyfriend. And that's not racketeering to me. But some people in my office say, no. When he gets employees and assistants to, go over to Cudi's house or to bomb his car or to, confront people or to book a hotel room, that's a criminal enterprise. And we do not see eye to eye even internally.
By the way, have you done an analysis, even anecdotally, of the gender or the age or the ethnicity of who is on which side of that debate? Kind of an anthropological or sociological analysis. And is there a pattern that you can discern as you sit there?
Not really. It's all over the place in the office. I'll tell you, to me, the best example of this, at least from my point of view, is, okay, if this is a criminal organization and he breaks into Kid Cudi's house, what does he take? Does he go for jewelry or drugs if there were there? Or does he go for electronics? No, he goes for a Christmas present from Chanel. He was going there to see what Cudi was going to give Cassie for Christmas. And that's not racketeering. That's a jealous, crazy, criminal boyfriend. And that's why it just seems so odd to me. I want to mention one other thing, and I don't know if you can get into this, and then we'll move on. But Suge Knight. So the one thing that I thought that they had here was when the prosecution called a witness to say that a security guard went to Mel's Diner on the Sunset Strip to buy some food for Diddy, came back and said Suge Knight's at Mel's. According to the testimony, and this is from an assistant, Diddy ordered the assistant and the security guard to get in the car and took 3 guns with him to Mel's Diner. And he was up to no good. Suge wasn't there, and nothing happened. So I wondered, if they really want to show racketeering, why not call Suge Knight? Because even though Suge wasn't there, here you have Bad Boy Records versus Death Row Records, and they're in this epic fight.
I'm going to answer the question for Harvey. Harvey says, please pay attention. He said, why not call Suge Knight? Well, because first of all, Suge's credibility. Okay, why is Suge in prison right now? He's a whole killer. That's for number one, but also because he and Diddy were arch enemies. Okay, so he would have motivation to lie. Not that he would lie, but that's clearly what they will portray it as, the defense. They would make it as though he has, you know, a reason to lie and fabricate things because he wants to see Diddy in prison. That's what they would say, and that makes sense. And also because Suge has spoken out against Diddy on numerous platforms and even has a whole podcast where he talks about Diddy and talks about the trial. So they would say that any testimony that Suge Knight could give would be prejudicial, and also there would be a lack of credibility. You wouldn't know whether to believe him or not. And also, given the history that he and Diddy have shared together, being enemies, that would be definitely someone you would not want to trust their testimony about Diddy. Okay, now let's see what Mark Garagos has to say about it.
And Tupac is involved in all of this. And there's murder and all sorts of underlying allegations. So I called Suge Knight and I got him in prison and I talked to him about this. And, you know, and I asked him, I said, if he came there with weapons and you were there, would there be a gunfight? And he essentially said yes. So even though Suge wasn't there, it paints a picture of real racketeering with these two record moguls and all of this stuff below it. But they didn't call him, which I found interesting.
So over separate and apart, I can't comment on any of that. And that has,
is this driving you crazy?
Very little to do with anything else except a representation of anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Oh, Suge Knight? I didn't know that.
I can't go there. So,
well, you just did kind of. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow. Okay, can I mention one other thing because I thought this was kind of interesting?
Yes, because you're going to just keep.
I know, torturing you.
Things that I want to talk about, but I can't. So I get it.
Okay, so everybody watch Mark's facial expressions.
Yes, I know this is Harvey. Harvey is. For those of you who don't know, apparently I'm like his pet animal that he likes.
Okay, so here's another update, guys. Remember, Mark Agnifilo is doing cross-examination on Capricorn Clark. Defense attorney Mark Agnifilo began by confirming with Capricorn Clark, a former employee of Sean Diddy Combs, that they had met before. Now, Agnifilo, Tini Garagos, and another attorney for Sean Combs, Jonathan Davis, met with Clark, who brought an attorney and a friend with her on April the 10th of 2024. Agnifilo asked Clark to confirm that she told the lawyers at the meeting that Combs wouldn't be in this mess if he had kept her around. Oh, really? Now that's interesting because they're going to use that against her if she said it. Said that if she had kept, he wouldn't be in this mess if he had kept her around. She acknowledged that she probably said something like that as they discussed the possibility of her returning to work for him as his chief of staff. She also told the lawyers that at the meeting that Cassie Ventura wasn't good for Combs. Oh, really? So it sounds like she was speaking in his favor at this meeting. Do y'all hear this? The attorney who accompanied Clark to that meeting was Brian Friedman, the well-known entertainment lawyer representing Justin Baldoni in the ongoing litigation with Blake Lively. Returning to that meeting in April of 2024, Agnifilo said he suggested that she was told it would be impossible to hire her amid the ongoing criminal investigation into Combs. She said she didn't remember that being said. I find this all interesting, but you remember everything else? Okay, so Capricorn Clark, a former employee of Sean Diddy Combs, testified that she met Combs around 2002 through a mutual friend shortly after she moved to New York City. She said her relationship with Combs was 1,000% platonic. Clark said that Combs took ecstasy in the early stages of the relationship and his rug with the D use increased over time. Same thing she said about Cassie. So both of them had it bad as it pertains to the use of illegal substances, no less. Okay, so, well, you know, it's sounding like Capricorn may have said some things that may impact her credibility during her testimony. Let's hope not. Now, this is from Inner City Press from 6 minutes ago. Agnifilo says, you authorized Mr. Freeman to seek a job for you? Clark says it was all very procedural, lawyer to lawyer. Agnifilo says, but you were told you couldn't be given a job in the middle of the investigation. She says, I don't remember that. Agnifilo says, read this and let me know when you're done. Do you remember saying you had the biggest crush on him? Oh, honey, a crush on who? Please say it wasn't Diddy. Please tell me she didn't have a crush on Diddy. Are y'all listening to this? Are y'all listening to this? Honey, this is all going bad. Hold on, let's see where it's going. Okay, so do you remember saying that you had the biggest crush on him? AUSA says objection 403. The judge says Mr. Agnifilo. Agnifilo says state of mind. Because the judge wants to know, where are you going with this? What's the reason, your reasoning behind this line of questioning? And then that's why he says, Mr. Agnifilo, like, you know, what's going on here? And then Agnifilo says state of mind. So he's trying to show her state of mind, that if she had a crush on this man, maybe she might be a little bitter, perhaps. I don't know where he's going exactly, but I'm here for it. Agnifilo says we had a stip on this, or we had a stip on this. Sidebar. Okay, so now there's another sidebar called what is really going on? Okay, that's it right there. Let me see if they have on CNN, honey, because I want to get the rest of this. This is all getting juicy. You know, I was going to mention that I thought it was interesting that she said we had a 1000% platonic relationship. And I'm like, why did she say 1000%? Like she was just trying so desperately to make everybody realize there was nothing going on. I don't know, but let's listen to Harvey and Garagos until we get more updates.
Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Thank you, Judge.
Yes, I know. It's payback is a bitch. I got it.
So the other thing that I thought was interesting this week was this psychologist, this forensic psychologist, Dawn Hughes. And her testimony was interesting. And, you know, I think what she was trying to show was that, you know, people are saying, well, Cassie had a right to leave. And she did have the means to leave. So why didn't she leave over 11 years? So she really got into the kind of, you know, battered wife syndrome, the Stockholm syndrome, and talked about the dynamic when the power is.
Hold on. I got some more updates from, it looks like, NBC. Okay. I'm all over the place trying to get these updates. Okay. All right. So let me see where to start. Combs and Cassie Ventura had both benefited from splitting up long before they did. Okay, yes, they were a toxic couple. They were toxic as a couple, Clark says. This is what she said during cross-examination. Now, the defense has sought to downplay violence inflicted on Ventura by Combs by implying that troubling acts within the relationship were consensual or motivated by jealousy. Consensual or motivated by jealousy. Honey, Diddy was just doing the most, okay? Yeah, he was jealous, but the way he was beating the mess out of her. And then Combs fired Clark. She said for her allegedly failing to inform him about Cassie Ventura and dating Kid Cudi. She said, I lost everything. This is what she said, ticking off a list of employment benefits such as health insurance and a 401k. Clark said Combs gave her a 30-day notice in 2012. He said, I would never work again, and all these people weren't my friends, and he would make me kill myself. But then she went back in 2016. Like, make that make sense. Why would you want to work for somebody who just said they're going to make you kill yourself? There's no way. Okay, still waiting to see what happens after the sidebar.
Skew between two people, how you might say, well, they could just leave. She explained why they don't. And that was, I think, an important thing for the prosecutors to bring up. And I thought she was an effective witness for prosecutors. And the whole business about she's paid because she's an expert, I don't think that matters to jurors, honestly. I mean, she got paid $6,000 a day. That's her fee. That's what experts charge. She was apparently involved with the prosecution's case somewhat, but I thought I was kind of effective.
Ba-bum. At Byberg Small Business Insurance, we cover all kinds of small businesses.
I just can't believe. Oh my God, I can do this for 5 hours.
I promise you, the chickens will come home to roost. Okay, that's what we'll leave it.
Well, when will that happen? I mean,
sooner than you think. So,
okay, one final thing on Diddy, and we'll move on.
You just said one final thing.
No. But do you think you'll
that was ultimate?
Will you be unmuzzled next week?
I don't know. Let's just talk about something that I'd like to talk about, which is, do you have the clip of the so-called expert in the Karen Reed case, who the prosecution called, who apparently has been getting his degree for 17 years, even though it's listed on his CV for I don't know how long. I just don't even understand who did the due diligence in that case. If you're the prosecutor, how could you possibly think that a guy who has listed on his CV a degree, which it took him 17 years, and by the way, you're the one who's covering Kim Kardashian in the 6 years of law study, and poor Kim, I thought that was a wonderful accomplishment of hers, an achievement, and I applaud her for it. But this expert took 17 years to get his degree.
I know, it's hysterical. I mean, I thought the same thing. It's like, what is this jury going to think? I mean, it's like
there's no way. I just do not understand in that case. I really do not understand what the Commonwealth is doing. I don't understand what Her Honor is doing. I don't get why they're retrying this case. I don't understand any of it. I really don't. Alan Jackson is there, who I think the world of, and he's trying it. He's a local neighbor of ours in downtown LA, and his partner is a guy I've tried many cases with. I've tried cases against Alan when he was a DA, or actually we had cases against each other. The client passed away before we could go to trial, but he's an excellent lawyer. He's been great since he's jumped out into private practice. And I wonder, I watched that case, and it's amazing to me what if that is what happens in that jurisdiction. Once again, it's astonishing to me to watch what happens and to watch what goes apparently unchallenged most of the time.
Can you explain something to me about this case? I do not understand this. She's being retried on the second-degree murder charge, right?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. The jury found her unanimously not guilty on that charge. For whatever reason, the judge didn't read that out loud when the verdicts were read, but the jury found 12-zip that she was not guilty. And it went up on appeal to, it's like...
It got nowhere. It went to the...
I know. Why?
It went nowhere.
But why? I don't understand that.
I didn't read the state, but I read, I think, what was the cert petition. And I'm just guessing that because it wasn't on the record, and that because it was by way of affidavits, which violate or arguably violate the juror's province of deliberations, that you couldn't bring it in. But my question is, and I've never had this answered, is when they say they're hung on the lessers, because that's what it was.
Right.
In order to get to the lessers, if they're following the instructions, they have to acquit on the greater.
Right.
That's why it's called a lesser. You go kind of down the line. Well, if you find that they're hung, and by the way, remember, there was quite a bit of back and forth as to whether or not they had deliberated long enough, blah, blah, blah. Why didn't the judge ask them on the record, did you get a verdict on the greater?
The judge screwed up. The judge screwed up. The judge should have done that. And it feels like, well, the judge messed up, so the defendant pays. It's like they found it doesn't make sense to me.
It makes no sense. I mean, I watched some of these things that happened there, and I forget the one, but I remember at the time thinking it was astonishing. And Alan had just suggested a procedure, and it'll come.
Okay, so this is from Inner City Press, and apparently this is an update that I missed. Okay, so AUSA says, was Mr. Combs violent with you? Now, this is before the cross-examination. I obviously missed this part. I'm seeing it. Was Mr. Combs violent with you? Capricorn says, yes, at Star Island. He told me you are not to leave this house. Pharrell Williams was brought in by boat. I returned, and Mr. Walker to Palm Island. He called and said, where the F are you? You can't have a life. Actually, I did read this, but it was from CNN. Okay, so then AUSA says, what about bulk cash? Capricorn says, yes, 100,000 euros coming back from Europe. Where did he get it? She says, bookings, club bookings in Europe. He'd keep it, then give it to security, then into his bedroom, personal safe. AUSA says violence. Clark says fighting. Okay. 2 minutes ago, they're back from the sidebar. Agnifilo says, you called him Choc. Was that for chocolate? Capricorn said, I did. Agnifilo said, you started with Def Jam, Run DMC. She says, I don't go back that far. I'm more Foxy Brown, Redline, Jay-Z. And then Agnifilo says, so how did you come to work for Mr. Combs? Capricorn says, I put my resume on Monster after the World Trade Center thing. He said, you'd work for me? I was like, maybe. He was acting on Broadway in Raisin in the Sun. I was impressed. Agnifilo says he had a major part. She says he was a star. Y'all remember when Diddy played in the Raisin in the Sun? He played the same part that Sidney Poitier played back in the original version. So then Capricorn Clark says, then I shadowed him on the Vote or Die campaign. My job was to get the t-shirts on the celebrities and into the photo shoots. I'd call them and say Puff wanted them to come. Agnifilo said, and they came. She says they did. Okay, that was from just a minute ago with Inner City Press. Now let's go to CNN. Okay, the last we heard from CNN was that Diddy, his rug use increased over time, that she was 1,000% platonic with him, and that she would have gone back to work for him in 2016. Okay, so now this is from 3 minutes ago. Capricorn Clark said Sean Diddy Combs is, she's Sean Diddy Combs' former employee. She texted Combs in June of 2021 saying, did you ever know that I had the biggest crush on you before I started to work for you? Now, why would she text Diddy this? Even if so, why would she text this to the man who has threatened her life, kidnapped her, and done all these other things? Okay, allegedly. She says, we hung out all the time. I played it super cool, she said. I don't think you knew. I just knew for sure that you liked to have me around. Clark testified that she doesn't remember saying this to Combs, but recalled reaching out to him in 2021. You see how conveniently, anytime the defense throws a monkey wrench in the plan, these people say, oh, I don't remember, I don't recall. But you remember everything else? Girl, you know you said it. Why did you say it is my question. It's unclear how Combs responded to the text. Did you know I had the biggest crush on you? Why would she say that? Okay, I find this all so interesting. Anyway, I'm done listening to Harvey and Mr. Garagos for now. They've moved on to a different topic that doesn't pertain to Diddy. And so there's no need to continue listening. But what do you all have to say about this? Why would she say that? Even if she did have a crush on him. I'm sure probably a lot of people did until they found out what kind of devil he was. But she told him this after she found out that he was in fact the devil. See, now they can use this to make it look like she's just scorned or bitter or mad. because it wasn't reciprocated. Okay, I guarantee that's what they're gonna do. I don't know what some of these people be thinking, honey. Judge Wood said, "Got her." Look at you. You want Diddy to get off, don't you? Judge Wood, please sit down somewhere. Diddy's going down, beloved. Okay. Nicole said, "Oh, they love Diddy's dirty draws." I mean, that's what it sounded like. Why would these people keep going back to this man after the shenanigans and all the threats and the violence that they have seen and endured themselves? Like, I just couldn't. Okay, I just couldn't. Okay, so still waiting for more updates. Let me see what else I can get into. Oh, this is all a hot mess. Let me see what CNN is talking about. Oh, we already saw that. I'm still trying to figure out why she would even say that. You all heard about the people missing in Louisiana, the inmates that escaped? Okay, so I heard that they caught 5 of them and there's still another 5 of them missing. The Inkwell says, intimidation. They thought he would secure their future employment opportunities. You know, but even if they thought that, my point is, after you've seen that he's violent, after he's threatened you with a gun in the middle of the night, made you take it to somebody's house, and then checked your phone and all of this, made you do lie detector tests and all this stuff, threaten your life and safety. Why would you go back, honey? I don't care what anybody says, honey. It's not enough. You can't intimidate me to go back to work for you. That's what you can't do. And here's the thing. It doesn't even sound like she was intimidated. It doesn't even sound like she was intimidated from what she's saying. I mean, not talking about the kids cutting stuff. I'm talking about when she's sitting there telling him that, "Oh, I had such a crush on you. I don't know if you knew." That right there doesn't even sound like she was intimidated. Like, that's why she wanted to come back. Sounds like she wanted to come back because she needed a job and she was willing to come back and work for Diddy in order to have one. That's what that sounds like. Now, 5 minutes ago, Agnifilo says, "How long before the jury went missing, or the jury missing thing?" Capricorn says, "It was about 4 months. On the 4th of July, he threw a white party at his home on the Hamptons that year. Okay, with voter die. Agnifilo says, when did the jewels missing? When did that happen?" Capricorn says, "After July the 4th. You know, anybody who came to his party for July the 4th could have stolen that jewelry. And he's going to blame Capricorn. And then probably after they didn't find it on her and she passed the lie detector test, probably, you know, did the same to some other employees. When in fact, it could have been anybody that showed up there. Not just employees, if you ask me. That crazy bitch Eric says she wants to be a part of the FOs. It's no telling. I just find it interesting that she even said that. Like, what was she thinking? What was she thinking? Okay. Okay, still waiting for more updates, beloveds. DJ Big Six said she wanted to get chosen. I don't know, honey. Sounding real sketchy at the end of the day. Sounding real sketchy indeed. Okay, I think I'm going to go to Law and Crime Network. Let me go to this news report, beloveds.
In the same courthouse, the third week of testimony in Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial picks up today. Again, federal prosecutors plan to call Combs' former assistant as well as representatives from the Los Angeles Police and fire departments to the witness stand.
Eyewitness News reporter Phil Tate is live for us in Lower Manhattan. He's been covering this case for weeks now as it continues today. What do we expect today, Phil?
Yeah, Pedro, Michelle, good morning. Well, Sean Combs' racketeering and sex trafficking trial is set to get underway in just a couple of hours, and this after a 4-day break, all due to the holiday weekend. Prosecutors are expected to call Sean Combs' former assistant, Capricorn Clark, to the stand, and she will now join the growing list of witnesses that have already given some testimony. Now, we can expect more explosive testimony from her as she'll come into the courthouse, but it was just last week. Take a look at the video on your screen. Last Thursday, rapper Kid Cudi testified about Combs' apparent jealousy when Cudi dated Cassie Ventura in 2011 while she was briefly broken up with Combs. Now, Cudi accused Combs of breaking into his house and firebombing his car. The prosecutors revealed at the start of the blockbuster trial that jurors would hear about Combs allegedly waking up an employee in the middle of the night and forcing her at gunpoint to take him and his bodyguard to the home of a man who Ventura had been dating. Now, the jury saw photos of his damaged Porsche, including a blackened interior door and a charred, melted driver's seat. Well, arson is among the predicate acts in the racketeering conspiracy that Combs faces outside of sex trafficking. Now, Combs has pleaded not guilty to these charges and, if convicted, could spend the rest of his life behind bars. We are live outside of the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. I'm Phil Tate, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
All right. Wix, one platform, any website. Unlimited creation. Describe your needs and goals, and AI will transform your tailored brief into a unique website that's ready to perform in minutes. Customize it. Shape your visitors.
Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News reporter. I'm here outside federal court because we're getting a lot of questions, and we had to turn to one of the top lawyers in the New York City area who's actually done cases in these courtrooms and find out what everybody wants to know. Joining me right now is criminal defense attorney and managing partner of Hamilton Clark, Philip Hamilton. Phil, great to have you with us.
Always great to be with you, Lisa.
Thank you so much. One of the big questions I keep getting asked everywhere I am is, can Diddy go free? How do you answer that?
Anything is possible. Diddy could potentially go free, but if he's going to go free, the defense is going to have to continue to hammer upon the fact that this case has more to do with domestic violence than, in fact, federal sex trafficking. And if the defense can hit that home to the jury every day throughout the course of tomorrow, through the rest of the trial, he might have a chance to go free. But it's going to be a very nuanced, complicated endeavor for the defense. Not easy, very much so an uphill battle.
Okay, but you're saying it's not easy for them, but a lot of people are saying all they're doing is proving domestic violence. What do they need to do? What does the prosecution need to do in order to prove sex trafficking?
Well, in order to prove sex trafficking, the prosecution has to focus on a few key elements: coercion, force, manipulation, defrauding. To the extent that they can show those elements, they can build their case and make a case for sex trafficking. So when we look at specifically the testimony that's come through from Ms. Cassie Ventura, of course, we heard a lot about force, right? And whereas a layperson might look at that testimony and say, hey, what does this have to do with sex trafficking? This has more to do with domestic violence. Well, it's a critical element, because what we do have testimony about, both from Ms. Ventura and ultimately some of the witnesses that testified today, was that there was commercial sex, right? And to the extent that you have coercion,
meaning the sex workers that they hired for these freak-offs.
Exactly. So like once you combine that element with the force, with the coercion, with the drugs, you're now starting to make a recipe for sex trafficking. Even if it isn't necessarily the strongest case, it's certainly not one that they can't prove.
So you think that the prosecution has enough to prove this?
As of right now,
yeah.
No. But if they continue building their pieces element by element, block by block, they may. We'll have to see ultimately where things are by the end of the case, how cross-examination goes with respect to a number of the remaining witnesses. But they are starting. We are only a few days in.
No, we definitely are. And then let me ask you about the RICO, the racketeering. How do you get racketeering in this whole thing? Because people are saying the main witness that they've seen is Cassie. Is the government saying that Cassie was being trafficked by Diddy? And what about the racketeering? Explain that for us.
So it's not so much Cassie individually, right? If that was the case, then it really wouldn't be going on at this courthouse. It'd be going on at the state courthouse right across the street. Just
100
for a domestic,
Street.
100 Center Street, a typical domestic violence charge, which, based on the testimony we've heard thus far, he'd be guilty of in the state case. In this courthouse, Cassie is just simply one element upon many that the government is going to have to bring in to prove. So I think in this particular instance, it's not so much about the individual acts of violence as against her, as more as we get more of the puzzle pieces in and we get the bigger picture. And I think the bigger picture with respect to the enterprise that they're trying to prove is not much different than what we saw in the R. Kelly case, right? Where you essentially, that's the precedent for this matter, frankly. The R. Kelly case in terms of proving an enterprise with Diddy, with his music company, and with using those apparatuses to satisfy his sexual desires.
So, for example, if they have, we've heard, drivers for his company that were hired, bodyguards were involved in transporting any of these sex workers or involved in any booking flights for them, which they testified they were very methodical in getting Cassie to testify about this sex worker or this individual was flown from this city to that city and flown here and flown there and naming the actual specific cities. Is that part of a RICO?
I often joke that I'm retired, but in reality, it's just that I get to live my dream of being a full-time.
That's part of them trying to create the enterprise that Sean Combs was heading. And when I say that precedentially, a lot of that stands from the R. Kelly case, it's because when he tried to appeal at the Second Circuit right next door to this building, the Second Circuit held that no, in fact, what R. Kelly was doing was running an enterprise and that legally that could stand. The prosecution here is just collaterally and very much so in a parallel fashion doing the same thing. They're essentially saying that all those people that Diddy was using to allegedly bring people across state lines and the like is ultimately what manifests his intent to both sex trafficking, why he's guilty of it.
Okay, but and then also what about the drug use? Because that's one thing that's different from the R. Kelly case. Yes, there was alleged drug use and alcohol there, but this is on a whole different level from what we've been hearing in some of the testimony. The amount of drugs, the type of drugs, the different cities. What role is that going to play in terms of the government proving these charges, and what kind of problems does it present for Diddy's defense team?
Two particular problems. One, for Diddy's defense team, it's critically important to the coercion element, because to the extent that these people are not in their right minds, to the extent that they are high, to the extent that they can't make decisions on their own, it's then easier to coerce them into an act, a commercial sex act that they may not otherwise have participated in. However, the weight of that is given by the jury in terms of looking at that evidence. That's going to be on the jury to decide. But for what the prosecution has to prove, that's one critical element. I think the second critical element with respect to the drug use is the fact that you have a lot of this coming across state lines, the fact that these are predicate other criminal acts that help to make out the RICO. Because with the RICO, to your point, you can't just look at the individual acts of domestic violence. When you're looking at the drug possession, when you're looking at the trafficking of the narcotics, that also is serving as a predicate act for the potential RICO enterprise. Very complicated, but at the end of the day, definitely trying to make the point that the government is putting their building blocks together to make their case.
So you would advise people at this point, it's too early to tell, basically? Is that what you're saying?
It's too early to tell, but what they are putting into place are, number one, the elements, at least the beginning portions of the recipe that they need to make in order to prove their case. But secondly, they're making Diddy look really bad. And if there's going to be a situation where you have a couple of holdouts at the end of the case, how much empathy are they going to be able to show Diddy to continue to hold out, that he potentially gets a mistrial, or he gets them to convince other jurors to come over to his side? The worse he looks, the worse it is for him potentially in deliberations. But I repeat, not impossible.
And then what about in terms of the verdict? What needs to happen? There needs to be a unanimous verdict, or what? Explain that for us.
There needs to be a unanimous verdict on each count in order for him to be found guilty of each count. If there's one single holdout, that could be enough for a mistrial to be declared, and either for the government to have to represent their case, or potentially work out a plea negotiation with him, or do whatever it is that they're going to do at that moment.
Okay, so with that all being said, we're about to go to break because they're going to break. And here's what they say right before the break. Okay, let's talk about it real quick. And then we're going to break until they come back. They're going to break till 1 o'clock. Okay, they were dismissed 3 minutes ago. Now, hold on. So Capricorn Clark, Sean Diddy Combs' former employee, testified that she texted Combs in June of 2021. Did you ever know that I had the biggest crush on you? Okay, we already know that part. Okay, and so basically, it's unclear how Diddy responded to the text messages. Okay, now. Okay, so the jury's been dismissed for lunch. When we come back, we'll do a recap. I'll do the recap when we come back. Right now, I'm going to conclude this broadcast so I can get ready for the next. I hope that they are concluding court today at 3 like they did last week. Okay, Queen Sam says, so just black men have RICO charges for this behavior? Well, that's what it looks like, beloved. That's exactly what it looks like, okay? All right, so anyway, with that all been said, I love you all to life. I hope you all are enjoying the show. We'll be back at 1 o'clock. I'll make that 1:15. I'm gonna need 15 more minutes, okay? And, you know, it'll take about that long for us to get the updates in anyway. So 1:15, I'll be back. Hope to see you all here. All right, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got